What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with second part of What if Naruto arrived in HighSchool DxD with a forbidden jutsu that could erase angels, devils, and gods? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments, and also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Tsunade, Naruto's been captured, came the call of a raven-masked Ambu. What, how did that happen? Demanded Tsunade. Unless otherwise stated, all characters are same as canon. He was ambushed while protecting the refugees that was running from their town being burned by a rouge fire jutsu, explained the Ambu. Do we know where they're taking him? Asked a worried Tsunade. The Ambu looked down. His next words were all but a whisper, but all in the tent heard him as if he were speaking normally. They've taken him to remove the Baiju. Tsunade looked around. Has anyone seen Hinata or Wolf? No one answered as they were also looking for the blonde loving Hyuga. Damn it, find them before they do something stupid, ordered Tsunade. Through the chaos no one noticed two shadows leaving the makeshift base heading for enemy HQ, determined to save their comrade from certain death. Location change. We find our hero tied to a post, bruised and bloody, with a grin that said he gave as good as he got. You won't win, you know, Naruto called out. And why is that? Asked a figure in the darkness. Naruto's grin grew wider, though you could see a hint of sadness in his eyes. Because we're both going to die here. As he said the words, the hidden figure was surprised to see smoke appear all around his captive. The surprise soon turned to fear as the smoke cleared, revealing dozens of high-grade explosive tagas that seemed to fly in all directions. Releasing that Naruto planned to destroy the base, the hidden foe tried to make his escape, revealing himself to be none other than Sasuke Uchiha, but is stopped by none other than Naruto. How are you free? I made sure you couldn't use your chakra, demanded Sasuke. You mean that sad excuse of a seal you placed on me? Naruto laughed, holding up a ruined seal tag. This was so weak I didn't even need to use Kurama's chakra, Naruto said, tossing it aside. Now what, Dobi, you going to take me back to that pathetic village? Snarled Sasuke. Naruto gave a sad smile. Sorry Teme, but like I said, neither of us are going back, as a shadow clone pierced Sasuke through the back straight to his heart. Sasuke's eyes were wide in surprise, but he couldn't help smile. He would finally be reunited with his family. Thank you, was all Naruto heard as the life left his friend's eyes. Naruto awaited his end as the hideout started to crumble around him. His only regret was that he would never get to hold Hinata in his arms again. You see, what most didn't know was that Naruto not only knew of her feeling but felt the same, and in fact was in a secret relationship with the shy heiress. A single tear fell as he thought of her, and Naruto. He could almost hear her voice even now. Naruto. Strange, he thought, it's like I can really hear her. Naruto, he heard again. This time he was sure he heard her, but that was impossible. She should be at base camp. The next thing Naruto saw was a strike of midnight blue as he was tackled to the ground. Hinata, what are you doing here? Naruto all but shouted in surprise. He looked down at her pearl-white eyes glistening with tears. If you die, I die, you hear me, Naruto Uzumaki? Hinata muttered into his chest. Hinata, was the only reply he gave as he hugged her tight. I hate to ruin the mood, but there may be a way to get out of this alive. Naruto's head whipped around to see someone walk out of the shadows. Why are you here and what do you mean? Naruto asked with his eyebrow raised in confusion. The figure smiled. Simply put, it's a forbidden jutsu that will transport us to a new world. Though no one knows where or even if we will survive the trip, but hey, what do we got to lose, right? Naruto looked down at Hinata. What do you think I'm? He asked. Hinata just smiled. As long as I'm with you, I don't care what world or afterlife we end up in. The mysterious figure rolled his eyes. Right, well, let's get this show on the road. Uzumaki Sealing Art, World Shift Jutsu. The world started to spin for our heroes as they left the elemental nations forever. Unknown location. A strange vortex opened up in the sky as three unknown fell through into the surrounding forest. Ow, what happened? Asked Naruto. You idiots just through the dimensional gap. Do you know how dangerous that is? Asked Kurama. Naruto shook his head to shake out the cobwebs as for a moment there Kuruma's voice almost sounded feminine. Dropping the thought for now. Not really, but it was the only chance at survival, Naruto explained to his tinette. Kurama sighed. Fine, but what will you do now? Your comrade and mate aren't going to wake up for a while. Now Naruto was sure something was up with Kurama's voice but would bring it up later. For now I need to find shelter. Then when the others wake up we gather information on this new world. Naruto responded as he picked up his friends and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Time skip. It's been about 3 weeks since they came to this world, and through it all they learned quite a bit. To start with, this world has no chakra, or at least none they have come across, and according to Hinata, the people of this world don't even have a chakra network. Thanks to Naruto's shadow clones, and a quick transformation jutsu, gathering information from the library was a snap. They were apparently in a place called Japan, in a town called Kuo Town, which surprisingly they spoke the same language. We find our otherworldly travelers walking through the park talking about their next move. So we need to find a way to get some papers and ids for us, said Naruto to his 2 companions. Hinata looks at him. Let's not forget that people our age are expected to go to school. Naruto looks down. But school is so boring, don't you agree, Wolf? He asks his 3rd companion. Wolf looks over to him, giving a sly grin. You're just saying that because you suck at studying. Hinata couldn't help but giggle at Naruto's betrayed look. That's not fair, Wolf. We both know Naruto could do well, with the right incentive, said Hinata, giving Naruto a suggestive wink. Now it was Wolf's turn to laugh at Naruto, who was blushing madly. His laughter was cut short at the sound of fighting. Did you hear that? Asked Wolf. Yeah, it came from over there, replied Naruto, completely serious. Hinata, what do you see? 2 people, but one is strange. They have some kind of energy like the one we have now, and the other has something as well, but it's hard to tell what, replied Hinata, whose eyes now showed signs of using the Byakugan. I say we go and assess the situation, with caution of course, said Wolf. I agree, stated Naruto. With that they went to see what the commotion was while staying in the shadows. They arrived to find a boy being attacked by a girl with black feathered wings holding what could only be described as a spear of light. It's nothing personal, Issei, but you're too dangerous to let live any longer, said the winged girl as she threw the weapon, piercing his chest. The now named Issei coughed up blood as he fell to the ground dying. Naruto and his friends came out after the winged girl left to check on the boy. He's still alive, but just barely, Hinata informed them. Wolf walks over. Can we save him? Hinata takes a closer look. Maybe, but the strange power will make it difficult, she informed them. Naruto looks at the boy with pity, as he knows all too well what it was like to have people try and kill you for something you hold. Can we remove it without killing him? Naruto asks. Hinata looks at him. I'm not sure, as it looks a bit like the link that you and Kurama share, but not as strong. I may know a way, said Wolf, but it's risky and may not work. Naruto looks at him. Well, he'll die if we don't do something, so what do you have in mind? There is a seal my clan used to interrogate. It puts the one it's on in a state of what we called living death. Wolf takes a breath. With that, removing the power should be possible without truly killing him, as the seal would force him back to life, from which we can heal him, he explained. Naruto looks to Hinata. What do you think, Haim? She looks at Issei, then back to Naruto. It may be our best chance, as I don't know how this power will react to healing chakra. Naruto takes a moment to think, then looks to Wolf. Do it, was all he said. Wolf nods and kneels over Issei. Going through the appropriate hand signs, phantom sealing art. Second chance jutsu. As he finished, Issei's body glowed briefly. Okay, now Naruto, I need you to use Kurama's chakra to pull out the power. It should be drawn to it. Naruto nods as he lets the crimson chakra envelop his hand, feeling for the foreign power. Soon a green gem glowing with power leaves Issei's body and lands in his hand. Suddenly a vision of a great red dragon appears. Who are you, and why do you remove me from my host? Startled Naruto just stares for a moment before replying. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and your host was dying. We are trying to save him and weren't sure what you wear or if you would let us, so we did what we thought best to save his life. The great dragon looked into his eyes, looking for any deception but finding none. Very well, I believe you. Now that I am no longer in the boy, I ask that you find me a new partner, one that will use my power to its fullest. What is your power? Asked Naruto. The dragon gave a toothy grin. My power is to doubles the abilities of my partner every 10 seconds, and that's just scratching the surface. All other abilities will have to be discovered by my new partner. By the way, my name is Diedrig. Naruto smiled. It's nice to meet you, Diedrig. And I think I have the perfect partner for you. Diedrig just nods. Thank you, Naruto, and may you live a long and happy life. Naruto bowed to the dragon. See you later, Diedrig. And with that the image of the dragon faded as the real world came back into view. It didn't take long for Naruto to realize that the talk with Deidre went a lot faster than he thought, as Hinata was just starting to heal Issei. The next thing Wolf knows, Naruto slams the gem into his stomach. That's for the hot springs incident, referring to a prank Wolf played on him once. Wolf just gives a short laugh, fair enough. Suddenly there was a red circle on the ground in front of them that seemed to teleport a redhead that seemed surprised by their presence. Rias Pav. The last thing Rias expected to find when she teleported to where she believed her soon-to-be new pawn was 3 people she had never seen before in her territory. The first she saw was a blue-haired girl wearing a light purple jacket opened to show a lavender blouse, navy blue jeans, and blue shinobi sandals. Her eyes were pale lavender and made her look like she may be blind. The next she noticed was a white-haired boy with 2 colored eyes, one ice blue, the other crimson red. He wore a knee-length black trench coat opened up to show a black shirt, and black pants with what looked like steel toe boots. The one that really got her attention was a spiky blonde-haired boy with deep blue eyes that made her cheeks have a dusting of red to them. He wore a red jacket opened to show a burnt orange shirt, blue jeans, and blue shinobi sandals. She then noticed the girl had some kind of green glow around her hands as she tended to Issei, and to her further shock the hole in his chest seemed to be stitching itself back together. She then noticed the white-haired boy reach for something. "What, I'm not here to fight," she tried to explain. It was the blonde one who spoke. "And how are we supposed to trust you?" Though slightly disappointed they didn't believe her, she couldn't fault them. "My name is Rias Gremory and this is my territory," she explained, believing that from the powers they show that they are aware of the supernatural world. The blonde looks at her confused. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the one healing the boy is Hinata Hyuga. And this is Wolf Hellfang," pointing out his companions. "And what do you mean your territory?" he asked. Normal Pav. Now it was Rias who was confused. "Do you not know about the Gremory family?" Naruto just shook his head. "No, can't say I have." This time Wolf spoke, with narrowed eyes. "Are you talking about one of the 72 pillars of hell?" Rias nods. "That's right," she says. So does that make you a devil?" Wolf asks. Rias slowly nods again, wondering if they were with the church and wishing she had her peerage with her. Wolf ceased under his breath. Naruto just looks at the two, wondering what is going on. Seeing this, Wolf decides to fill him in. "Remember how I was looking into our..." He stops to look at Rias. Unique conditions. This had Rias confused. Now Naruto and Hinata were wide-eyed. It is believed through this religion that devils are evil and will trick humans into making deals with them, said Wolf. At this Rias was a bit irritated. "I'll have you know, not all devils are evil, and while we do make contracts, they are done through us devils being summoned by humans." This seems to intrigue the others, as the only summoning they knew of was the summoned animal clans from their world. "And how does that work exactly?" asked Naruto. This threw Rias off a bit. "Well, originally you would need to draw a complex seal to do so, but these days we just use this." As she pulls out a slip of paper with a sealing array on it, giving it to Naruto, who begins to study it with great interest. "Fascinating," was all he said as he showed it to Wolf, who seemed to be just as interested. "If you don't mind me asking, who or what are you, as you don't seem human?" At this Naruto looks at the others. "It's up to you," was the only reply he got from Wolf, who was still looking at the seal, and a nod of agreement from Hinata. Naruto couldn't help from sighing. He then looked Rias in the eye, using his ability to sense emotion to see what kind of person Rias was, and to his surprise she felt like a kind and caring person. "We are shinobi from another world," he said in all seriousness. At first Rias thought he was joking, but the look on not only his face but the face of the other two told her that it was not a lie. "Okay, say I believe you. What proof do you have?" she asked. Naruto smiled. "Shadow clone jutsu," as he made what looked like a cross with his fingers. Another Naruto poofed into being. Thinking it was just an illusion, Rias went over and poked the clone. Naruto grinned. "You know, you could buy me dinner first," as Rias started to blush. The clone disappeared in a cloud of smoke, with the real Naruto laughing beside her. Hinata, feeling for the poor girl, gives Naruto a stern look, causing him to quit laughing, much to Rias's amusement. "Okay, I think I believe you now. That said, you don't exactly feel human," stated Rias. The three friends look at each other, thinking she offended them. Rias was about to apologize when, "In truth, we aren't sure of that ourselves," replied Naruto. Unsure of how to ask there, meaning Rias just tilts her head in confusion. "I think showing her would be easier." said Wolf. The others just nodded and all three look at Rias, who was a bit concerned until the next thing she knew all three grow wings, tails, and ears. Naruto and Hinata had 9 fox tails, fox ears on top of their head and what looked like crimson-red angel wings outlined with gold. As for Wolf, he ironically had 9 wolf tails, a pair of wolf ears, and the same kind of wings. Rias couldn't help but look shocked as she had never seen such a sight. "May I take a closer look?" she asked. Naruto chuckled. "Go ahead, but please refrain from touching the ears and wings, they are very sensitive." At this Hinata giggled. "Trust me when I say Naruto knows this all too well." Rias couldn't help smiling at Naruto's blushing face. "He's kind of cute." Rias couldn't help think to herself. Upon further study, Rias felt the energy of devil, yoki, and angel, but that should be impossible, she thought. Biting her lip, she wasn't sure how to explain what she had discovered, but what confused her more was it felt like Naruto and Wolf had something else in them as well. This, however, got the attention of both Naruto and Hinata, who just finished healing Issei. "What did you find?" Naruto asked. Wolf's eyes never left Rias. According to a popular religious belief, there is a heaven and a hell. Heaven is ruled by the biblical God who created humans and angels, while hell is ruled by devils. And according to a cult belief, these devils can draw their lineage from one of the 72 pillars, one of which is Gremory. As Hinata was working, Naruto walked over to Wolf to tell him what he learned. "So you're telling me that that small gem holds a dragon looking for a partner?" asked Wolf with a raised eyebrow. "Believe it or not, yes," said Naruto, looking at his friend. "Well, who do you have in mind?" asked Wolf. Naruto smiled, looking at him. Wolf sighed. "Okay, just get it over with." "Do you have sacred gears by chance?" she asked the 2 males of the group. "Are you referring to Diedrich?" Wolf asked her. Rias's eyes went wide. "You have one of the 13 long gines," she all but whispered. Naruto looked a bit sheepish. "Well, you see, to save the guy over there we had to remove Diedrich from him. After doing so he spoke to me asking me to find him a good partner." Rias was at a loss for words as she looked over to Issei. They had managed to do what was thought to be impossible. They removed a sacred gear without killing the host. After a while, Rias seemed to make a decision. "I know this is Souden, but would you join my peerage?" Naruto and the others looked confused. "I'm not sure what you mean." Rias was mentally berating herself. Of course they didn't know what she meant. "Some time ago there was a civil war with the devils. It almost wiped us out, but one of the current Satans came up with was is called the evil peace system. With it we devils of high class can reincarnate others as devils, and while it is true that some devils treat them as servants or slaves, we of the Grimoire clan prefer to see them as family." Naruto looks to the others. "What do you guys think?" he asked. "I trust your judgment," said Hinata. Wolf just grinned when she said, earning a smack on the arm from the brunette. Naruto couldn't help laugh at their antics, turning to look at Rias with a fox-like grin. "Sure, let's do this." Gemini. "And done, so what do you think?" Naruto. "What's with the hybrid thing you're trying to go with?" Gemini. "That will be explained later. For now let's just say this is an idea I've had for a while." Naruto. "Okay, so we will be joining Rias who?" Mysterious voice. "Seems that way." Naruto. "Okay, who are you?" Mysterious voice. Walks out of shadow. "Sup?" Naruto. "It's Wolf. What the hell?" Gemini. "Well, that's all for now. If you readers like the story so far, PLZ let me know, and PLZ let me know how I can improve my writing. Though that said, if you are just going to say something like I suck and should just stop, you will just be ignored, so don't waste my time, PLZ. Well, later." After agreeing to join Rias, the group decided to get Issei home, and with Naruto's shinobi training and Rias's magic they managed to do so with none the wiser. "We now find ourselves in an old school building. This is the Occult Research Club room. A time of base of operations for my peerage," explained Rias. "Is that who I sense?" asked Naruto, getting a shocked look for Rias. "How did you know?" Naruto just chuckled with his 2 companions. "Let's just say it's a gift from a good friend," said Naruto mysteriously. Rias couldn't help but wonder what he meant by that, but let it slide for now. She then proceeded to open the door, revealing 3 others inside. "Meet the rest of my peerage." The blonde girl leaning against the wall is Kiba. The one sitting on the couch eating sweets is Kaneko, and the one serving tea is Akino. This seemed to catch the attention of the 3 in question. "And who might these be?" Rias asked Akino. "This is Naruto, Hinata, and Wolf, and they will hopefully be the newest members of our group." "Really, what pieces are they?" asked Akino. Rias gave a thoughtful look. That is a good question, she said looking at the three. Is there anything special about these pieces? Asked Naruto. It then dawned on Rias that she didn't get around to explaining the full function of the evil piece system. Do any of you know about chess? She asked them. It's a strategy similar to shogi with each player having a set of 16 pieces. There are 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, 8 pawns, a queen, and a king, explained Wolf getting looks from his 2 friends. What I used to play shogi with Shikamaru, so when I heard of a game similar I read up on it, stated Wolf. Rias just smiled. That is correct, the evil piece system uses this pieces. A rook is super strong, a knight is super fast, a bishop holds greater magical power, a queen has a bust of all 3, and the king is the leader. The pawn however is different as it holds the power to promote with, is to say that when in what the king claims is enemy territory they can take the power of any piece but the king. Understanding dawned of the 3 shinobi. Thinking about it, Naruto asked the question the 3 was wondering, is it possible to turn the 3 of us to pawns, as with our training it would serve the greatest advantage? Surprised by the question, Rias to answer, honestly I don't know, as each piece has its own value. For instance, let's say Hinata is worth 3 pawns but you might be worth 2 bishops. Thinking about it made sense to the 3. It was like trying to say that Genin was equal to Junin. Naruto suddenly gave a sly grin and looked at his friends. What if we suppress our power? At this Rias was intrigued as no one had ever tried that before. Can you do that? She asked. Sure, it's a trick we learned for survival, said Naruto. This caught the attention of the others. Survival form what? Asked Kiba. Not expecting the look that was found in the eyes the 3 strangers, not the answer she was given. War, stated Wolf with a voice so void of emotion it sent chills down their spines. Naruto put a friendly hand on his shoulder. Wolf took a deep breath to calm his nerves. Sorry about that, Naruto said. So should we try? He asked. This seemed to bring the others back. Sure, said Rais as she went to the large oak desk in the room pulling a wooden box for one of the drawers. So you ready to get started? Naruto nods with determination shining in his eyes. Y'all, let's do this. His words seemed to bring a smile to his friends' faces. Okay, I'll need you to lie down while I do this, said Rias. Wolf nods as he lies down on the ground and starts to suppress his power. As he did this, Rias started to place pawns on his chest until the second pawn glowed red. At this, Rias stood up. Come and be reborn as a pawn in my name, Rias Gremory. A bright light briefly enveloped Wolf after he stood up, a little dizzy but fine all the same. Rias completed the ceremony with Hinata much the same way, however she became a little worried it was Naruto's turn as it looked like she might not have enough pawns left. Fortunately, while it took what was left of her pawn pieces, the ceremony went well. With that, you are all now part of my peerage, Rias said with no small amount of joy. So what do we do now? Asked Naruto. At this, Rias hands him a stack of flyers with the summon seals on them. Now it's time for you to hand out these, she told him. Naruto looked at her confused. May I ask why? He asked looking at Rias. It's quite simple, it's so you can get people to know you, that way when it is time for you to start taking contracts they will know how you are, as we get you to find those with strong desires. Naruto nodded in understanding. As this was going on, Wolf decided to sit next to Kaneko, who tensed for a moment thinking that he may want some of her sweets, that is until he reached into his coat and pulled out a box of Pocky, offering her one as he started to munch on one himself. Want one? He asked. Kaneko courteously took one of the chocolate-covered biscuits. Finding them to her liking, she took another. Rias looked at the two with curiosity and amusement as they sat eating the treat. You know, Kaneko don't usually trust people this fast, Rias said. Naruto smiled. I think he likes her. He whispered to Hinata and Rias. Only Ro have a empty Pocky box thrown at his head. I heard that, said Wolf, though if he were paying attention he may have noticed a barely noticeable blush on the resident sweets addict. Rias couldn't help but giggle a little. Oh, by the way, where are you living? She asked them. This seemed to get Naruto to start scratching the back of his head with a sheepish look on his face. The thing is, we've just been making camp in a clearing out of town, Naruto explained to her. Rias gave a thoughtful look. I'll see what I can do. Don't want members of my peerage to me homeless, do I? She said with a soft smile. Naruto started to wave his hands in front of himself. You don't need to do that. I'm sure we will figure something out, he tried to say until Wolf How seemed to appear behind him, smacked him upside the backside of his head. And how so you expect us to do that without the proper papers? Wolf asked him. Hinata sighed. He has a point, Naruto. As far as this world is concerned, we don't yet exist, she reminded the blonde. Oh right, sorry, I kind of forgot, said Naruto sheepishly. Rias just watched their interaction. I can help you with that as well, she informed them. Wolf turned to her, bowing his head slightly. Thank you for all you're doing for us, he said. Hinata turned to her. If there is anything we can do to repay you, we will, she told her. Rias looked thankful. Thank you, but as you are now part of my peerage, I see you as family, she said. Still, you're doing a lot for us. If there is something we can do for you, we will, Naruto said with determination in his eyes. This shocked Rias a bit, as while she knew that the other members of her peerage cared for her, this was the first time she felt this way. Wolf leaned over to Hinata. If he keeps this up, you may have a few sisters to share with, he whispered to her. Hinata just smiled. If it means he is given the love he deserves, then I'm more than willing to share, she whispered back. Did you two say something? Asked Naruto, confused. Wolf just looked at him with a raised eyebrow. No, why? He asked. Just thought I heard you talking is all. Hinata, trying to hold back her giggles, asked Rias. So when do you want us to start? Rias looks at her. I should have everything ready in a few days. Come back here then and we'll start, she said. Hinata nodded. See you then, Rias, as she and the others seemed to disappear in a swirl of leaves. Well, this should be fun, said Akino with a giggle. Time skip. Today was the day that they went to see Rias about their paperwork and a possible place to live. As they walk into the clubroom, they see Rias behind her desk. You, Rias, how are you today? Asked Naruto. Rias looked up and smiled at them. Hey guys, I have everything here for you, she said, holding out the papers. It has everything you need. A birth certificate, passport, and everything else you'll need. I also have keys to your new home, along with your new school uniform and schedule. Rias handed them the items. Thanks, Rias, said Naruto, putting them away in a storage scroll. This got the attention of Rias and the others, as they had never seen something like what he just did before. Naruto, what was that? Asked Kuro's Rias. Naruto looked up. What was what? He asked. Wolf sighed. That was a storage shoal. It's created using a seal that puts items in a kind of subspace for easy traveling. Wolf explained. It can hold just about any non-living thing so long as it doesn't exceed the subspace. Rias blinked. How does that work? She asked. Wolf, seeing this is going to be something of a lecture, decides to sit next to Kaneko. Well, to start, the scroll has to be able to handle the seal. It also determines how much it can hold. Like the one Nato just used can hold about 3 weeks of supplies. Wolf takes a breath, letting everything sink in. Next comes the seal itself, which is created with special ink, called chakra ink, that lets one use their chakra to activate it. At this, Wolf sees Kaneko and the others tense. Narrowing his eyes, he asks, I take it chakra isn't as absent in this world as we thought, is it? This got the attention of Naruto and Hinata. It was Rias who spoke. Chakra is thought to be something only yoki have and is dangerous to devils, she explained. Naruto looks at her. Where we come from, everyone has chakra, even Kavalins, though only the shinobi trained to use it. This shocks them further, a whole world of chakra users. The next thing you'll say is that you can use senjutsu, Rias jokes. It was Hinata that answered. The only ones I know to use that is Naruto's teacher. Naruto and Wolf, but that was through special training. With this, all eyes were on Naruto and Wolf, though none more intense, as she stared into Wolf's eyes without blinking once. Is that a bad thing? Asked Naruto. The last user of senjutsu went mad and killed her king, explained Rias quietly. What do you mean she went mad? Asked Naruto with a look so serious it was like looking at a different person. This took Rias by surprise, as all she has seen is the happy, goofy Naruto. Now he was all business. Nature chakra here is dark and filled with malice, she explained to him. Naruto thinks for a moment and turns to Wolf, who nods as he gets up and walks to the other side of the room with Naruto. He then proceeds to sit cross-legged on the floor. Rias looks concerned. What are you doing? She asks them. Naruto keeps his eye on Wolf. If something goes wrong, I'll stop him, was his only response. It wasn't long before Kaneko figured out what they were doing by the feeling she was getting from Wolf, as it was a feeling she would never forget. But before she could try and stop them, she felt something else. It was warm and comforting. Wolf opened his eyes to show them to have changed to a deep green with slitted pupils and red pigmentations around them. Looking at Naruto, they're not wrong, but it's easily ignored. However, this other senjutsu user was they were poorly trained or rushed the process. he informed Naruto as he let the nature chakra go, bringing a sense of peace and safety to the occupants of the room. "That or there's more to the story than you know," he said to Rias, his voice calm and without insult or judgment. Rias wasn't sure how to respond. Here before he was what seemed to be two people who could use what is considered one of the most dangerous techniques known to be used by only the Yoki race. "How did you do that?" Kaneko asked quietly. Wolf looked at her, but it was Naruto who answered. "Where we come from there are things called summoning contacts that let us call forth special animal clans to fight with us. Some of these contracts have special training that lets us use senjutsu. For me it was the toads, for Wolf it was the canines," he explained. "To do this takes careful training because if you're not you can be turned to a stone stash." Kaneko's eyes never left Wolf. His words stuck with her. "There's no way that's true, right? She went crazy and abandoned me. That has to be it," thought Kaneko. As if reading her mind, she heard Wolf mutter, almost too quiet to hear, "There is always two sides to every story." Looking around a bit, it was like no one else heard him speak. Rias looks at the two, then Kaneko, trying to see if she was going to be okay. Noticing that she was doing okay, she then speaks to the others. "For now I'll send you out with the flyers. We will discuss this and your other abilities later." As she says this, she hands them the flyers in question. "Okay Rias, we'll talk later," said Naruto, seemingly back to his normal happy self, though no, she could see the calm, collected warrior that was once hidden in his eyes. Hinata walks up beside Rias. "You see it now, don't you? His true self?" she asks Rias. "Yeah, but why does he hide it?" Rias asked. Hinata gives a sad sigh. "It's up to him to tell you the full story, but he has had a hard life. One where a mask was necessary." Hinata then looks Rias in the eye. "He deserves love. Love that I alone can't give," she says mysteriously. With her piace said, Hinata followed Naruto and Wolf out to hand out flyers. "You know it's like doing D-rank missions again," joked Wolf, causing Naruto to faceplant. "Crap, you're right. You don't think there's a Kathleen Tora mission, do you?" Naruto asked almost fearfully. Elsewhere, a calico cat's ears twitch as if somewhere someone is talking about her. "Tama, where are you?" "Shit," was Tama's only thought as she ran from the monster that's always trying to crush her. With Naruto and friends, Naruto felt a shiver go down his spine as he handed out his last flyer. "What was that?" he asked himself. Wolf walks over to him. "What's up?" he asks Naruto, how just shakes his head. "It's nothing, just a weird feeling is all," he explains. "Are you two done?" Hinata asks, walking over to them. "Yeah, how about you?" questions Wolf. "Same air, sets head back," replied Hinata. It didn't take long to get back to the clubroom where they met with Rias. "Mission complete," reported Naruto, causing her to raise an eyebrow. "Sorry, habit," he explained, causing her to giggle a bit. "Well, you got back just on time. We actually have 3 open contacts that need someone to tend to," Rias tells them. She then looks to Akino. "Could you start the summoning circle for their first Jum P?" Rias asks her. "Sure thing," says Akino. As she holds her hands out, a red circle appears on the floor. Rias then walks up to the 3 shinobi. "Hold out your hands, please," she asks them. Doing so, Rias then places a type of magical crest on their hands. "This marks you as part of my peerage and the House of Gremory," she tells them. "Walk in the circle and prepare yourself. It can feel a little strange your first time," she informed them. They walk into the circle one at a time, and each time they seem to disappear into thin air. "Do you think they will be okay?" questioned Akino to her king. Rias just smiled. "They'll be fine," was her only response. Naruto Pav. I step out of the circle to see a large woman. "Hello Mr. Devil, I've summoned you to help me find my precious Tama," the lady told me. As I heard this, I can't help falling to my knees. "No," was all I could say as the nightmare continued. Hinata Pav. As I step out of the circle, I see a man wearing what looked like a nurse outfit. "Hello Los, I've summoned ye to help me with my patentais. You see, we are a little understaffed at the moment," he explained to me. I give him a smile. "Where do you need me?" I ask him. Wolf Pav. I appear out of the circle to see a figure hidden in shadows. "Hello mister, I've summoned you to ask for help. And please don't attack, as I mean you no harm," said a feminine voice. I'm confused of what she means until she steps into the light, revealing black angel wings. "Hello, I'm an agent of Grigori and I need your help with a few rouges," she tells me. "I'm listening," I tell her. Normal Pav. As the 3 appear back in the clubroom, they see Rias at her desk. "So how did it go?" she asks, giggling at Naruto, who seemed to be covered in scratch marks. "Stupid cat." was the only response Naruto gave, giving the others a laugh. After she stopped giggling, Hinata told them, I helped at a small clinic. It was then Wolf's turn to talk, but to their surprise he bows apologetically. I'm afraid my contract is ongoing, and in the agreement with said contract I cannot reveal its nature until the time is right. I hope you understand, was all he said, waiting for response. Though she didn't necessarily like it, Rias could respect his predicament. Very well, so long as it does not endanger my peerage, was all she said to him. Wolf gave her a thankful smile. Thank you, Rias, he told her gratefully. Don't forget that you start school tomorrow. Rias reminded them, so go home and get some rest. Naruto nodded. Good night, Rias, he said as they left for their new home. Do you think it's wise for Wolf to be so secretive about this? Asked Akino. I'm not sure, but it does show his dedication to his work, responded Rias. The next day shows the three friends heading to the front gates of Kuo Academy in their new uniforms, so first we go to the principal's office. As they head to the office they meet the security, informing her that they are the new students. Hello, Principal Shun is expecting you, she informed them. Thank you, says Naruto as they enter the office. The look to see a man with white hair and gray eyes sitting behind an intricately carved oak desk. Hello sir, my name is Naruto and this is Hinata and Wolf, he said, pointing to his friends. Shun smiled at them. Welcome to Kuo Academy, and as you can tell I'm the principal. He then stands up and wakes over to them. It is my pleasure to have you join us, he said, handing them each a piece of paper. That is your schedule and classroom, please memorize it in your free time. Now though I think your teacher is waiting, he told them as he sat back at his desk. Take it as a dismissal. They look at their schedule and see they have the same classes together. Cool, looks like we don't have to split up, said Naruto as they head to their destination. As they reach the door to their classroom they knock. The teacher opens the door for them. Ah, you must be the new students, he said as he let them in the room. Why don't you tell us about yourselves? Asks the teacher. Naruto nods. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, I'm new in town. I like ramen and pranks, he tells them. Hinata steps forward. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I'm also new. I like flower pressing and cinnamon buns. After she steps back, Wolf steps forward. My name is Wolf Helfang, and like my friends I'm new in town. I like Pocky and practicing many forms of martial arts, was all he said before the teacher started a polite clap for them. You three can take the seats in the back, the teacher told them. With a nod of thanks the three went to their seats, ready for a boring day of school. As the last of class ended for the day, Naruto and his friends left for the club room where they met with Rias. I have a few more flyers for you to hand out and that should be good for tonight, Rias informed them. Taking the flyers, Naruto and the gang said goodbye to Rias and the others. Naruto Pav. I had just finished handing out the last of the flyers when I heard a crash. I turned to see a blonde girl in what looked to be a nun's outfit. I rush over. Are you okay? I ask her. I'm fine, I hear her say, just a bit lost, she tells me. Okay, do you know where you need to go? I ask her. She turns around to look at me. Yeah, I need to get to the church at the top of the hill, she said, pointing to the building in question. By the way, my name is Asia. Gemini. And that's a wrap. Naruto. What the hell? Gemini. Is there a problem? Hinata. Giggle, he's just upset about Tama. Naruto. I thought I escaped the demon cat and now there's a new one. Wolf. Laughing, I still don't know what the problem was. Tora was quite nice. Naruto. Evil glare. You're just saying that because she never shocked you. Gemini. Well, Naruto, you just met Asia. I wonder what will happen next. And for all you readers PLZ, let me know how I can improve my writing, and for those of you who have nothing nice or constructive to say PLZ, don't waste my time or yours later. Naruto smiles. Hello Asia, my name is Naruto, and if you want I can show you the way, he tells her, holding out his hand. Asia can't help but smile back as she shakes his hand. Thank you Naruto, there's no telling what would happen if I got more lost, she jokes. As they head down the road they hear a little boy crying. Concerned they go to see if he's okay. When they get there they see the boy has scratched his knee. Seeing this, Asia runs over to him. I'll be okay, you just need to be strong, as she says that her hands glow a soft green, placing them over the wound without touching it. To Naruto's amazement the wound heals as if it was never there. After she was done the little boy thanked her and she started walking with Naruto again. You must be shocked, she said. Naruto shakes his head. A little surprised is all. he tells her as they reach the path that will take her to the church. "Well, this is where we part ways," Naruto tells her. She just smiles. "I hope we can meet again, Naruto," she tells him. She then turns and runs up the path with a happiness she hasn't felt in a long time. Time skip. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but you can't see that girl again," Rias told him. Naruto stood in front of her, not saying a word. "You must understand she is part of the church and as such is our natural enemy," she says. Naruto stays silent, staring into her eyes. "Damn it, Naruto, will you say something please?" Rias almost pleaded. For the first time since she started her lecture, Naruto sighed. "I respect you, Rias, but it's not that easy," he tells her. "And why not?" she asks softly. Naruto turns to the door, but before leaving he says something almost too quiet to hear. "We share the same eyes." Rias was stumped, unsure of what he meant. That is until Hinata walked up beside her. "He knows you care," she told the redhead. "Then why won't he listen?" she asks. "It's because this girl reminds him of his past, sad, lonely, and maybe even afraid," Hinata explained. After saying her piece, Hinata went to help Akano with the tea. With Hinata's words in mind, Rias sat at her desk trying to think of a way to help Naruto and possibly the girl. Rias's musing was brought short as Akano informed her that they had been charged with eliminating a stray devil that had taken up residence in her territory. She then called the rest of her peerage to inform them of what they must do. As they leave the magic circle, she tells them where the stray is thought to be. "This old mansion has been abandoned for years." She turns to them. "It is our job to make sure they don't leave here alive." Before they go in, however, "1 minute please," asks Wolf as he pulls out a scroll. Rias is confused until a poof of smoke later. Wolf is holding what looks to be a series of odd-looking blades. "Naruto, Hinata, take these," he says, handing Hinata what looked to be an oversized needle, and gives Naruto a huge sword wrapped in bandages with 2 smaller ones that when drawn form their scabbards seems to have odd hooks on the blade. "Are these what I think they are?" asked Naruto with no small amount of shock. Wolf just smiles. "Hinata, you now wield sewing needle," and Naruto, "Yes, those are Shamahada and Kiba, also known as the lightning blades." Across his own back he placed a large blade with a half circle towards the hilt of the blade, and towards the top in the center was a circle for decapitation. Seeing the looks, Wolf gives them an almost feral grin. "Her name is Kabikira Bocho." Rias and the others just looked on in wonder, for even they could tell these swords were special. "Let us show you what we can do," Wolf explained. Naruto nodded his head as he strapped his weapons on. "You each know how the other fights," he tells them. Hinata looks at them, her new sword strapped to the back of her waist. "But you've never seen us do battle," she said as the 3 turned toward the mansion and their foe. Rias and the others followed the former Leaf Shinobi inside, where they led them to a large ballroom. From one of the walls came an attractive-looking girl with nothing hiding her bare. She had raven hair, though below her waist was a monster straight out of a child's nightmare. "So this ugly sack of flesh is the one called Visor," said Wolf with a bored tone of voice, shocking the others. This seemed to catch the stray devil's attention. "What did you call me?" she screamed at him. Wolf just smiled. "It's a simple trick," explained Hinata. "What do you mean?" asked Rias. Hinata looked at her. "Easy. The angrier you are, the more mistakes you make. See," she told them. The others looked and saw Wolf dodging her attacks as if he were fighting a child throwing a tantrum. "Promotion night," Hinata said before disappearing. The next thing they knew, Visor howled in pain. They turned to see her arms held out as if she were a puppet with what looked like some kind of wire running through them. Hinata was behind her, sewing needle in her hands with the wire in question leading to it. "I barely saw her," said Kiba, surprising the others as she was the fastest among them. They saw Naruto walk towards her, crossing the blades in front of him. Lightning style. Lightning dragon jutsu. At the point where the blades meet, a dragon of pure lightning formed, striking Visor. As the stray devil fell to the floor, Wolf stepped forward. "Visor, you are guilty of attacking your king, and feeding you lust and sin." As he says this, Visor starts to get up. "Your punishment," he continues. Visor swings her monstrous hands at him. "Is death phantom style. Bloody purification." He finishes as Visor strikes his location. Just to find he is no longer there, but behind her with his blade at his side. Visor is about to strike again when suddenly blood flies everywhere. Rias and the others are speechless. While it was true Visor wasn't all that strong, the fact they took her down without so much as a scratch was truly impressive. Looking at her peerage, she saw Kiba watching Hinata, probably wondering how she was able to move so fast. Looking at Kaneko looked wide-eyed at Wolf as he swung his sword to his back like it was nothing. Finally she looked at Akano, and not so much to her surprise she was blushing and her breathing was a bit erratic looking at Wolf and his handiwork. As the three walked back to the others, Rias started to overheard their convocation. "Where did you even get these?" Naruto asked Wolf. "You remember the guy that could turn into water?" Wolf asked. "Yeah," responded Naruto. "Well, he had been collecting them and when he died Sasuke must have kept them," explained Wolf. As they reached the others, Naruto raised his hand. "So what do you think?" he asked them. Akano was the first to respond. "Hiding so much from us, maybe you need to be punished," she said almost seductively. Before Rias could say anything, Wolf responded. "Only if I get to play with the whip," he grinded, causing Akano to blush deeply, much to Rias's amusement. "I think that's enough for tonight, let's go home." The next school day came and went. We now find ourselves in the clubroom. Rias looks at her peerage. Kiba is against the wall. Wolf and Kaneko are sitting on the couch eating sweets. Akano is serving tea, and to her slight jealousy Naruto and Hinata are on the other couch making out. "Are you ready to take on a few contracts?" she asks them. Wolf looks up and says, "I have a meeting with one later." He tells her. Hinata agrees as she was to help at a clinic later as well. Naruto raised his hand. "I can take one if you want," he says. Rias nods. "Here's the location," she tells him. Naruto takes the info and leaves in a magic circle. Hinata gets up as well as Wolf. "We'll be heading out as well," said Wolf as he leaves. Though Hinata stays around long enough to talk to Rias. "You know, if you want to join in you just have to ask," Hinata whispers in her ear before leaving. Naruto Pav. I step out of the circle, but instead of in the house I'm outside for some reason. Not liking the feeling I'm getting, I pull out my sword Kiba and open the door. It's dark inside and my ink dicks are going nuts. I grip my swords harder as I walk into the only room light with candles. There I see a gruesome sight, as the one I can only guess is the client is crucified to the wall with blood everywhere. I turn my head to see someone sitting on the couch. "Are you the one responsible for this?" I ask, my voice void of emotion. The man has white hair and red eyes. "That's right, you shitty devil. I, the great freed Sellzen, purified this devil lover," he says, getting up from the couch. "And soon I'll kill your fucking ass too." He laughs madly as he pulls out a gun and a sword hilt that shoots out a blade of light. "So your name is Freed, at least I know what to put on your grave," I tell him. Freed smiles like a lunatic, pointing his gun at me. "Let's see you try when you're full of holes, you fucking devil," he says, opening fire. As I dodge his shots I get closer and swing at his head, which he blocks with his light sword. "You think you can beat me, you shit devil?" he asks as he points the gun at me. "I was about to ask you the same," I say as I pump chakra into my sword, allowing it to be coated with lightning, shocking him and unintentionally causing him to pull the trigger, shooting me in my left arm. "Damn it," I muttered as I got up. Unfortunately the psycho was quicker as he shot me in my right leg. The next thing I hear is a scream. I turn to see, to my shock and dismay, Asia. "Father Freed, what happened here?" she asked in horror, looking at the bloody remains of the man Freed killed. "I forgot you were a newbie. This is what happens to those who summon devil," he tells her. "And now it's time to do the same to this fucking devil filth," he said, pointing his gun at me once more, causing Asia to look over. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" she asks in hurt confusion. I lower my head. "It's because I'm a devil, Asia. I'm sorry for not telling you," I say sadly. "Well, this is just sickening, a fucking devil acting like he's a real person," said Freed. Freed starts walking toward me. "Shitty devils like you should just die," he says as he swings his light sword at my head. I was about to raise my own sword in defense until Asia jumps in the way, trying to protect me. "Please, can we not spare him? I know deep down he is a good person," she pleaded. Her words seemed to fall on deaf ears as Freed backhands her into the wall and walks over to her. "I know the higher-ups said not to hurt you, but why shouldn't a upstanding priest like me have some fun with a devil-loving whore like you?" he says as he cuts her clothes off. Just as he's about to touch her, I threw my sword into his shoulder, causing him to turn to me once more. "You fucking devil, I'll kill you for that," he screams, swinging his sword once more, only for it to be stopped by another. Normal Pav. Rias stood behind Naruto. "We came as soon as we relicked your presence disappeared," she told him. Naruto looks at her. "Thank you, Rias, and you to Kiba," he tells them. "You can thank us later." Rias tells him, "For now let's take out this trash," she says to him. Naruto shakingly gets to his feet. "I couldn't agree more," he says with a voice that puts a chill through Fried's blood. Naruto slowly walks over to his sword and picks it up. Kaneko looks at Rias. "Fallen angels are coming," she says to her. "Naruto, Kiba, it's time to go," Rias tells them. "We need to take Asia with us please," begs Naruto. Rias looks at him. "I'm sorry but only those who hold my crest can use my magic circle," Rias informs him. Naruto looks at Asia. "I will save you, I promise, and I never break a promise," he tells her as he reluctantly enters the magic circle. At the clubroom we find Hinata healing Naruto's wounds. "Naruto, I know you want to help that nun but you have to understand if you start a fight with them it could lead to war," Rias says to the blonde. "I understand that, Rias, but I can't just abandon her either. I will look for a way to do this without causing you trouble," he tells her quietly, hoping she'll listen. Rias just sighs. "Just be careful, Naruto. I don't want one of my family hurt, that includes you," she says softly. "I will Rias for you and all my friends," Naruto says in determination. The next day find Naruto walking around town trying to think of a way to help Asia without causing a war. That is until he bumps into the very person he is thinking about. "Asia, what are you doing here?" Naruto asks her. "I wanted to see you," she tells him. Naruto smiled at her. "Same here, Asia," he tells her, causing her to blush a bit. "So is there anything you want to do?" he asks her. Asia, "Well, there are a few things," she says quietly, causing Naruto to give her something of a mischievous grin. "Okay, I'll take you anywhere you want and I won't take no for an answer," he tells her. Asia smiles. "Okay, then let's go," she says, holding Naruto's hand. Throughout the day we see the two around town playing at the arcade, taking photos in the picture booth, and eating at a fast food restaurant. "You don't need a fork or knife to eat a burger, you know," Naruto chuckles. "Just pick it up and enjoy," he tells her, taking a bit out of his own food. Asia gently picks up her food and takes a small bit. "It's delicious," she exclaimed. Naruto chuckles again and picks a piece of bread from her cheek and eats it. As he does this, Asia blushes, a color red Hinata would have been proud of. We now find our blonde duo at the park in front of a large fountain. "So what's been bothering you, Asia?" asks Naruto. "What do you mean?" asks Asia, trying to evade the question. "I can tell you're hurting and scared," Naruto tells her. Before he can continue talking to her, he suddenly feels danger and while holding Asia close jumps away from the spear of light that explodes the bench he and Asia were sitting on. "That's quite the hello," Naruto jokes. "Is that how you greet everyone? Am I just special?" he asks as he looks to the fallen angel who tried to kill him. "Rainier," Naruto looked at Asia, then at the fallen angel. "So that's your name, who?" asks Naruto. As he looks at her he can't help but think she looks familiar. "You're the one who tried to kill that guy Isia," Naruto said as he pointed at her. This causes her to blink. "What do you mean tried?" "I ran a light spear through his stomach," she said with all seriousness. Naruto just grinned. "Yeah, well, you weren't counting on Ninja," he said almost mockingly. "Sure, we had to remove the sacred gear to save him, but at least now he can have a normal life," Naruto explained. "Oh, and pray tell, where is the sacred gear now?" asked Rainier in a sickly sweet voice. Naruto's grin widens. "With the one person that won't hesitate to clip your wings," he tells her with a voice that contradicts the happy grin on his face. Rainier felt a shiver go down her spine. "Oh well, I'll just have to kill them later. For now I think it's time for me to take Asia back," she tells the two blondes. Naruto steps forward. "Over my dead body," he says, all traces of playfulness gone from his face. The next thing Rainier sees is a poof of smoke surrounding the blonde boy, and as the smoke clears she sees two swords in his hands that seem to have streaks of lightning running along the blades. "You must be Naruto, the one that fought Fried," Rainier says, trying not to look afraid of the killing intent pouring of the swordsman before her. "If you're talking about that sad excuse for a human being, then yeah, that's me," Naruto says with distaste, thinking about the Rouge Priest. Rainier looks at him, trying to think of a way to get away with Asia and avoided fighting the devil swordsman until she remembers Fried mentioning that the boy seemed to be very protective of Asia. Rainier gave Naruto a sickening smile. "Well, if I can't have her," she then summoned a spear of light and threw it at Asia. "No one will," yells Rainier. Naruto, not even stopping to think, jumps in front of the deadly projectile. "Naruto!" screams Asia as he falls to the ground. Rainier starts to slowly fly towards them. Asia looks to her. Please let me save him. If you do, then I won't fight back and will do whatever you want without complaint, she pleads with the fallen angel. Rainier is about to refuse until she thinks, if she is willing, then we can claim our prize without too much trouble from the girl. Fine, but just enough that he'll live, Rainier tells her. Asia just nods her head and begins the process of healing Naruto. I'm sorry, she tells him softly. After she finishes, Rainier grabs her by the arm and flies off to the church. A little while later we see Naruto in front of Rais. Naruto, I know that you care for this girl, but storming into that church could very well start a new war, she tells him, her voice is soft but firm. What if I were to tell you that won't happen, asked Wolf as he stepped into the room. Rias raises an eyebrow, and how could you know that, she asks him. Wolf smiles, because my contract says so. At this Rias's eyes go wide. Please explain, she asks. Wolf nods. As you were aware a while ago, I was put under contract that would take a while and that until the time was right I was not to speak of it. Wolf then looks at the others in the room. I was contracted by a member of Grigori who was sent to spy on a group of fallen angels here in town. Wolf took a breath and looked back at Rias. If they turned out to be traitors, the spy was to eliminate them, but they were too strong, so they cleared it with their superiors to have his help with no backlash. All they ask it that the spy not be harmed, he finished telling them. Rais looked Wolf in the eyes. Can we trust this spy? She asks. Wolf looks at her. I had them make an oath of shadow and blood, he tells her. This seems to catch everyone's attention. What is that? Asks Kaneko. Wolf turns to her. It is an oath of my clan. It is said that should you break it, your blood will turn to ash and your shadow will consume you from the inside out. He informed them. How do you know that will really happen? Asks Akino this time. Simple, said Wolf as he turned to her. The oath creates a seal on the body until it is fulfilled. This brings a look of understanding to the group, as while they may not know a lot about seals, what they have seen has eased their concerns of the matter. Everyone looks at Rias. So what do you say, my king? Asks Naruto, who to everyone's surprise was kneeling before her, his eyes never leaving hers. Rais sighs. Very well, we leave immediately, she tells the others. 3 forms can be seen heading to the church. As they approach we can see they are Naruto, Kiba, and Kaneko. So Hinata is on reserves for this one, asks Kiba. Yeah, she prefers to play the role of healer than fighter, explained Naruto. Could have fooled me with how good she is with that sword of hers, Kiba said with good humor. Naruto grins. You're one to talk. With the deadly dance of yours, he tells her, causing a dusting of pink to appear on her cheeks. If you two are done flirting, they know we're here, says Kaneko as she kicks open the door. As they walk into the church they see Fried step out from behind a pile of rubble. So the shitty devils have come to save the slut nun, said Fried as he drew his weapons. Where's Asia? Demanded Naruto, his eyes red and slitted, filled with anger towards the stray priest. Oh, I'm so scared, mocked Fried. That is until one of the church benches was thrown at his head. Stupid devil bitch, yelled Fried. I'll kill you for that, he threatened the rook. Naruto gives a almost sadistic grin. You're lucky Wolf didn't hear you say that, he says, walking forward. You see, Wolf can be a bit protective of those he likes. At this Kaneko blushes. So protective, in fact I doubt there would be anything left of you to identify, Naruto said as he continued forward. Naruto's words seemed to send shivers down Fried's spine, though he wasn't sure why. Naruto was now in front of the mad priest. Let me show you why Wolf was known as the Crimson Phantom Chaos Illusion. Memory viewing Jutsu. Suddenly the church fell away to show a battlefield littered with people fighting or dead. What the fuck did you do? Demanded Fried as he pointed his gun at Naruto. I'm simply showing you a memory, Naruto stated calmly. By the way, Wolf is over there, he said, pointing to a group of ninja. What the fuck are you talking abo? Fried's words stopped short as suddenly the same group Naruto pointed at suddenly fell to the ground with blood splattering the battlefield, farther adding to the dead. Fried was shocked as he hadn't even seen the attack. Suddenly a figure dressed in black wearing a blank mask with Uzu written over the right eye. As the figure takes off his mask, Fried recognizes him as one of the devils who saved Naruto on their first encounter. May you find peace in the pure world, Fried heard Wolf say to his fallen foes. Kai, said Naruto, releasing the jutsu. So Mr. Priest, will you tell me where Asia is, or do I have to tell Wolf what you said to his favorite sweets enthusiast? Asked Naruto. making Fried's blood run cold. She's in the basement under the altar, Fried told them. Before any of them could do anything, Fried threw a vial on the ground, causing a flash of bright light. When the spots left their eyes, they see the mad priest is gone, but they still hear his finale words. "Make no mistake, you shitty devils, I will be back and I will kill you," he said. Naruto sighed. "We'll deal with him later, for now Asia Awitz," he tells his comrades as Kaneko pushes the altar. As they walk down the stairs, they see a large room filled with stray priests, and on the other side of the room we see something that has Naruto's blood boiling. That is till he notices Asia isn't moving. Change location. We see Rias, Akeno, and Wolf walking through the woods. "So how do you think things are going with the others?" Rias asks. Akeno looks to her friend. "I'm sure they are fine. They are part of your peerage after all," she says as she turns to Wolf, or she would have said person was no longer there. Before she could make a comment about his disappearance, they heard a voice coming from a tree. "So what are a couple of devils doing out here?" they asked. Rias and Akeno looked up to see what looked to be a young girl wearing a gothic Lolita-style dress. "And who might you be?" asked Akeno. "Who, me? I'm Middled," she tells them while snapping her fingers. "And this are my friends Calawarner and Donasek," she says as two fallen angels appear. Akeno just smiles. "Well, that makes this easier," she says as she puts up a barrier. "Is this supposed to scare us?" sneered Donasek. "No, that's my job," came a voice behind him. Donasek spun around to find no one there. "Looking for me?" came the voice again. This time when he turned to search for the person who seemed to be taunting him, he found a boy with white hair and carrying a giant sword. Upon closer inspection, Donasek saw blood on the blade, confusing him until he started to feel a pain in his neck and chest. Calawarner looked in horror as Donasek fell to the ground dead. "I didn't even see him move," she whispered to herself. She looks to the devil that just killed her comrade in fear. "Middled, we need to escape," she says as quietly as she can. "I'm sorry, but that goes against my orders," Middled tells her as she steps back. "By order of Azazel you are here by being named a traitor of Grigori," she tells her fellow fallen angel. Calawarner was shocked at what she was hearing. "You were a spy this whole time," she says, coming to the realization. "I'll kill you," she screams. However, before she could take a step, Wolf appears in front of her. "Sorry, but I can't let you do that, as it would be a breach in my contract," he says in a chill down Calawarner and Akeno's spines, for very different reasons. Calawarner tries to run, but before she could get far she feels a slight pain in her back before she feels nothing at all. "May you both find peace in the pure world," Wolf says, almost like a prayer for his fallen foes. Rais gives him a look of awe and confusion. "What was that? The thing you just said?" she asked him. "It's a custom of my clan. It is believed that unless you were a true monster who enjoyed killing and the like, you would be welcomed in the pure world, or what others may call the afterlife," he explains to them. "But why would you ask for peace for their souls? Aren't they your enemy?" This time it was Middled who asked. Wolf looks at her. "We all bleed, we smile, laugh, cry, and we all die eventually. So why should I hate another who has different views or was born different from me?" Wolf asks in return. Middled was in awe as he never expected to meet a devil who didn't hate fallen angels. Maybe Lord Azazel was right and peace is possible, she thought. Suddenly they all felt a huge dark presence coming from the church. "Looks like someone just pissed off Naruto," said Wolf looking at the building. The three girls looked at him, all sharing the same thought. That's Naruto's doing. Change location. Naruto and his friends walk down the stairs. As they reach the bottom they see a room filled with stray exorcists, and at the far end of the room on a platform raised above the exorcist he say the fallen angel that had taken Asia away, and beside her was Asia chained to a cross. Seeing this confused Naruto as he was unsure what was going on. It wasn't until a green orb with 2 rings inside left Asia's body that he realized what was happening. "She's removing Asia's sacred gear," Naruto whispered in despair as he knew the risk of removing a sacred gear without extreme care. The stray exorcist looked at the 3 devils that dared to intrude in their church and got ready to attack. Suddenly the room grew heavy with a dark presence. Most of the exorcists fell to the ground, finding it hard to breathe with the killing intent that was pouring off the blonde in waves. Rainier felt it all but shrugged it off, thinking that with the sacred gear she took from the nun she would be unstoppable. "Well, if it isn't the little devil form before come to take her back. Well, go ahead, I no longer need her as I now have the twilight healing all to myself," she taunted. Suddenly Naruto was beside her with Asia in his arms. "Not for long if I can help it," was all she heard before. Once again Naruto was by his friends. "Kaneko, Kiba, please take her somewhere safe," he tells them, before they can try and tell him they will stay and fight with him until they see his eyes. Gone were the warm sea blue eyes they were used to. Before them they saw the eyes of a warrior, cold as ice and void of emotion. "Alright Naruto, we'll take care of her, just stay safe yourself, okay?" says Kiba, taking Asia from his arms with care. "I will," Naruto tells them as he turns around facing the enemy Kiba. And Kaneko ran back up the stairs, not seeing Naruto form a cross with his hands shadow clone jutsu. With a poof of smoke, hundreds of Naruto filled the room, all of them armed with the twin sword Kiba. Rainier looked at the army of clones in shock, and though she wouldn't admit it, she felt afraid. One of the braver exorcists drew his light sword. "You don't scare me, devil, or light will kill you all the same," he exclaimed, allowing a bit of courage to return to the others. That is until Naruto walked up to him. "Nice speech, but I'm afraid you're a bit misinformed," Naruto says as he grabs the light sword and breaks it as if it was some cheap toy. "I'm only part devil." His words ring throughout the room, shocking them all. But not as much as what they saw next. Behind Naruto, a pair of crimson-red angel wings outlined with gold, 9 tails swinging behind him as if they had a mind of their own, and on his head were a pair of fox ears. "What are you?" asked a terrified exorcist looking at Naruto. Naturo looks at him. "It depends," he tells them. "For those who stand behind me, I am their shield. For those who stand beside me, I am their sword. And those who stand before me." He then looks to Rainier. "I am your destruction," his voice tuning dark at the end as he signals for his clones to attack. Now Rainier was truly afraid as she watched as the army of clones decimated the exorcist. "I had to get out of here," she thought to herself, however, before she could look for a way to escape. "Did you think I would forget about you?" asked Naruto from behind her. Rainier spun around, bringing forth a violet spear of light. Naruto blocked the spear with one of his swords but was caught off guard when he had to block a second. "Well, that's interesting," noted Naruto looking at Rainier. "What is?" asks Rainier, trying to overpower the blonde hybrid. "You have the potential to be a strong fighter, and judging by how these exorcists follow you, you have some skills as a leader, yet you throw it away for what?" Naruto asks as he starts to push her back. "You have made an enemy of not only me but Grigori as well." His words seemed to shock her. "That's right, they know about what you have been up to and have made a deal with us in exchange for dealing with your treachery," Naruto tells her as he shatters the spears. Rainier can't believe what she's hearing, all her hard work gone, all because of some damn nun and her pet devil. Rainier summons 2 more light spears, knocking Naruto's swords out of his hands and pinning him to the wall. "At least I can die knowing I killed you and that bitch nun," as she tries to impale him. Naruto grabs the spear. "Sorry, but that's not going to happen." Thunder Sword's technique. Remote control. Rainier looked down in surprise as the twin swords blades came out of her chest. Naruto then starts to use Kurama's chakra to pull out Twilit healing, though unlike with Issa there was no need to keep the host alive. "As much as I hate you for what you did to Asia, I hope you find peace in the next life," Naruto whispers to her. Change location. Hinata looks over Asia. "I'm afraid there's nothing I can do," she says in disappointment. Naruto, who just arrived, looks from Asia to Rias. "I know I have no right to ask, but please save her," he asks as he kneels before her. She just wanted friends to call her own, people to laugh and cry with. Naruto looks down, tears in his eyes. "Please, I will do whatever you want. Just please save her." Rias looked at Naruto and without saying a word walked over to Asia's body. Rias took out a bishop piece and places it on Asia. "Come and be reborn as a pawn in my name, Rias Gremory." Everyone held their breath as the piece absorbed itself into the former nun. Asia's eyes slowly opened and looked around, eventually they fell on Naruto. "Is that really you?" she asks him. Naruto just smiles. "Yeah, it's me, Asia. Rias here brought you back as a devil," he explains to her. "I hope you're not upset," he says as he looks down a bit. "I get to live a new life with my friend," she says, holding him in a tight hug. "How could I be anything but overjoyed?" she exclaimed. After a while she lets Naruto go and looks at Rias. "Thank you for giving me this chance," she says, bowing to her new king. Rias smiles at her. "Think nothing of it and welcome to the family," she tells the girl. "Let's go home," she tells the others as she walks out the doors of the church. Gemini. Wow, that was way longer than I thought it would be. Wolf. I'll say, and if I get my hands on that freed guy he'll beg for mercy. Naruto. It's because of what he said to Kaneko, right? Sly grin. Wolf. Blush, I have no idea what you're talking about. Gemini. Anyway, I hope you guys like the story and help me get better with your comments. Also, if you see a technique or jutsu made by another writer in my story, please let me know their name and the story it appears in so that I can talk to them about using it or if I should remove it. I would hate to take another's work and not give them the credit they deserve. Naruto. He's not an Uchiha, guys, so please help him out with this. We start by finding our favorite blonde walking into the clubroom. Hey, is anyone here? He asks, looking around. Seeing no one, he decides to sit on the couch and wait for the others, that is until he hears what sounds like a shower. Crap, I forgot Asia was staying here. Better leave before someone gets the wrong idea, Naruto thinks to himself. As he gets up to leave, Asia takes this time to get out of the shower. Naruto, is that you? She asks him. Naruto blushes as he looks away. Hey Asia, sorry to be a bother, but could you put some clothes on? He asks, still not looking at her. Asia looks confused until she looks down and realizes she is still in her towel. Asia blushes and runs out of the room to get change. Naruto gives a sigh of relief, thinking he may have escaped any misunderstanding. That is until he turns around to see Kaneko and Wolf sitting on the couch in front of him. Pervert. Was all Kaneko said as Wolf just chuckled, giving him a knowing smile. I am not a pervert, Naruto tries to explain. Kaneko just gives him a blank stare. Come on Wolf, you know I'm not a pervert, right? Naruto pleads to his best friend. I don't know, man, it doesn't look good for you, and you were trained by Jiraiya, the self-proclaimed super pervert, Wolf said with his smile turning into a sly grin. Naruto looks at him with a hurt look on his face. You traitor. You get a girlfriend and turn your back on me, he says with fake tears. Now it was Wolf and Kaneko's turn to blush. You know very well we're not dating, Wolf said defensively. Besides, I'm not that lucky, he whispered to himself, forgetting about Kaneko's advanced hearing. Naruto sees the young rook blush a little deeper, but before he could use it against them, the door opened to show the rest of the group. Hinata looks at the scene before her and decides to interfere the best way she knows how, and that is by sitting on Naruto's lap and pulling him into a passionate kiss. As they were busy making out, Kaneko takes the time to think about what she heard and what she felt about the boy beside her. Rais looks at the two kissing on the couch and can't help but feel a bit jealous. Hinata ends the kiss and gives her a look that seems to say, tell him or I will. Rais blushes a bit and decides to walk over to them. Are you sure? She asks the pale-eyed brunette. Hinata just nods her head. The exchange confuses Naruto. What are you two talking about? He asks them. Rais clears her throat. Well, me and Hinata have been talking, she says and takes a deep breath. And I would like to be your girlfriend too, she tells him almost too fast for him to hear. Naruto just sits there shocked at what he just heard, unsure of what to say or do. He looks to both Hinata and Rais. Are you sure this is what you want? He finally asks them. Hinata just smiles and drags Rais into Naruto's lap with her. You have had a long hard life and deserve all the love you can get, she tells him. Rais seems to think a bit. Why don't the three of us go on a date to help you decide, she suggests to the blonde. After thinking about it for a moment, Naruto agrees to her idea. As the three discuss the date, Wolf and Kaneko watch the scene unfold. It's about time the blonde idiot found some happiness, Wolf mutters under his breath. As he says this, he can't help but notice Kaneko deep in thought. Something on your mind? He asks her. The question seems to bring the young rook her thoughts and look at him. Do you like me? She asks him after a few moments, her voice unsure. Wolf looks at her confused. Of course I like you. You're a good friend and an awesome fighter, he tells her. Kaneko just shakes her head. I don't mean as a friend, she said almost shyly. Wolf looked at her for a moment. Yes, was all he said. Almost too soft for her to hear, though if her blush was anything to go by, she did hear him. The exchange was not missed on the three on the other couch. So what about a group date? Nato asks, shocking them as in the moment, they forgot they were not alone. Hinata claps her hands together. That's a great idea, she says. We can go to that new restaurant near our house. So it's settled, said Rais, not giving any room for argument. I hope this helps Kaneko open up a bit, she thought to herself. Recognizing he didn't have much choice, Wolf decided if there was no escape, then he was determined to do things right. Turning to the girl beside him, Wolf asks her, Kaneko, will you allow me the honor of a date? His blush matched the one on the girl as she simply nodded her head yes. Naruto gave them a smile. Okay, then how about this Friday after school? He asked the others, getting no objections. Okay, it's settled. And with that the group left to get ready for getting the rest of the club members. Did we just get left behind? Asked Akeno. I believe we did, said Kiba with a nervous smile. Time skip. It was the day of the date. Wolf and Naruto were leaving to pick up the girls at the clubroom since the girls wanted to surprise them with what they wore. As they step out the door, Naruto stops dead in his tracks. Wolf looked at him confused. He felt his confusion growing as he noticed his friend was having a staring contest with a cat. Wolf was about to ask what was going on. He heard Naruto talk to the cat. Tama, was all he said, and to Wolf's surprise the cat seemed to give a nod of acknowledgement as if to say, Mr. Devil. Now Wolf was thoroughly confused as it felt like he was looking at two combatants about to fight. I'm not on contract right now, so if you agree not to scratch me I'll pretend I didn't see you. Agreed? Naruto asked the now named Tama. The cat seemed to think for a moment before nodding. This caused Naruto to relax slightly and create a clone. As thanks I'll get you some fish. You like tuna, right? He asks as the clone walks back inside the house. Tama walks over to him giving a small meow of agreement. As the clone returns, placing the fish down as puffs out of existence. See you around, Tama, was the last thing Naruto said as he walked away with Wolf walking after him more confused than ever. You want to tell me what that was about? Asked Wolf. Naruto looks over to him. Let's just say that was an acquaintance from work, was all he said as they made their way to the clubroom. When they got there they were in awe of what the girls were wearing. Rias was wearing a long red dress that matched her hair and matching high-heel shoes. Hinata was wearing form-fitting midnight blue shirt with tight blue jeans and matching shoes. Kaneko was sporting white blouse with a matching skirt and sandals. Hey Naruto, is it just me or is there a goddess in front of us? Wolf whispers to Naruto all the while stealing glances at Kaneko, not quite able to look her in the eyes. It's not just you because I see two girls whose beauty could outshine the moon, Naruto replied, getting quick glare from Wolf. Whatever, he muttered. Neither of the males failed to notice the blushes their respective dates were now sporting, causing them to smile. The girls looked at the two boys in front of them. Naruto was wearing a blue tux with a white undershirt and an orange tie. Wolf was also wearing a tux but his was black with a white undershirt. Well, you two don't look too bad yourselves, said Rias. Wolf just gave a grin as he walked up to Kaneko. You look lovely tonight, was all he said as he offered his hand to her. Kaneko couldn't keep the blush off her face as she took his hand in hers, too nervous to say anything at the moment. Naruto also walked up to his dates. How is it I got lucky enough to go on a date with not just one lovely lady but two, he asks himself. His question gets Rias and Hinata to giggle a bit. Shall we be going? Asks Naruto, leading the girls out the door with Wolf doing the same. Yes, let's, said Hinata with Kaneko nodding in agreement. Change location. As they walk into the restaurant one of the waiters walks up. How can I help you? He asks them. We have reservations under Uzumaki, said Naruto. The waiter's eyes widen. Of course sir, right this way, he says as he leads them to a private table in the back. The waiter's reaction was not lost on the girls. Have you been here before? Asks Rias. The question was answered by the waiter. Actually Mr. Uzumaki and Mr. Helfang own the restaurant, he informed them. The girls looked at the two in shock. You do, whispers Rias. Technically Minato Uzumaki and Draco Helfang, explained Naruto. Who? Kaneko asked Wolf. It's the name of our fathers. Wolf tells them, after all we are just high school students, he explains further. This seems to get a look of understanding from the girls. But why do you go through the trouble? Asked Rias. Simple, we need money to live, don't we? Naruto said as if that explained everything. Rias looks at him. You could have asked, she says to them, getting Naruto to look at her. Rias, we will forever be grateful for what you have done for us, giving us a home, a place to learn, and friends we can be proud of. He tells her, getting her to blush deeper with each thing he lists. But we must also stand on our own 2 feet, so that if the time comes we can do the same for you. He finishes, his eyes never leaving hers. That reminds me, why did you decide to join my peerage? Rias asks, trying to change the subject, something the others noticed if their smiles were anything to go by. As you may have guessed, there are secrets we still keep, not that we don't trust you all, it's just how we grow up, Naruto says, rushing the end as he saw the frown on Rias's face. One of those secrets is my ability to sense emotions and intentions, he explained. We all know you're hiding something, but we trust that when the time is right you'll tell us, just like we will tell you everything we hide as well, he says, bringing her a little closer to him. Soon they come to a room with the waiter standing by the door. I hope you will find this suitable for your dining pleaser. The waiter said, there are menus on the table, just ring the bell and someone will come and collect your order. He finishes walking away to seat more customers. So what do you girls think? Do you see anything you like? Asks Naruto after they sit at the table. After a few moments of looking at the menus, the girls nod their heads and they ring the bell to order. A new waiter walks in. Have you decided on what you would like to eat? He asks. Yes, I would like some grilled chicken with a side of salad, said Rias. I would like some pork roast with a side of vegetables, said Hinata. And I would like some tuna with a side of soup, said Kaneko. The waiter nods and turns to the boys. And you gentlemen, he asks. I would like a bowl of beef ramen, said Naruto, and I'll have a steak mid-rare with a side of potatoes please, said Wolf. The waiter nodded again. And to drink? He asks. How about a pot of tea please, Naruto? The waiter finishes writing down the order. It will be done shortly, he says as he leaves the room. The group talks about things they have been up to and get to know each other better before the food arrives. Soon the waiter returns with the orders and they start to eat with bits of conversation thrown in. I still find it hard to believe you painted an entire monument the size of Mount Rushmore in broad daylight without being caught, said Rias. Naruto chuckles. It's not that hard when you think about it. I mean, when you see something every day you don't always think about it. He explains, not to mention I started it in the morning when people would be too tired to pay too much attention. Of course the real star of the show was the paint I used, he tells them. What do you mean, what is so special about the paint? Asked Rias. Naruto smiled. It's something I made myself after years of trial and error. You see, it says invisible until you pass chakra through it, he says, his smile growing with the looks of awe he saw on the others' faces. To activate all the paint at once I just needed to have a small, near unnoticeable line of paint going from one face to the other, he said, looking proud of himself at his greatest work of art. After they had eaten their food the waiter walked back in. Would you like dessert? He asked them. Before the girls could respond, Naruto stands up and whispers something in his ear. After he was done, Wolf stands and does the same. What was that about? Asks Rias as the waiter walks out. The two males look at them with sly smiles. That's a surprise, they say in unison. Before they could question them further, the waiter walks back in with a tray and sets it on the table. I hope it is to your liking, he says, and walks out once more. On the tray were sweets that left the girls speechless. Moving forward and placing a plate of cinnamon buns in front of Hinata, he then took another plate of red velvet cake and put it in front of Rias. As Naruto was doing this, Wolf takes a plate of cake and puts it on the table between Kaneko and himself. This confuses the girl until he takes a piece of cake and offers it to her. It's called Death by Chocolate, he tells her with a grin, still holding out the piece of cake. Kaneko couldn't stop blushing as she took a bite. The rich chocolate flavor of the cake had her eating more, not even thinking about the fact Wolf was feeding her with a smile on his face. As this was happening, Naruto gave a foxy grin as he picked up a cinnamon bun and held it up for Hinata to eat, which she did with a blush and a smile of her own. Rais was feeling left out until she saw a piece of cake come into her field of vision and she turned to see Naruto. How are you here and there? She asks in a whisper so as not to disturb the others. Shadow clone. Remember? He tells her in an equally quiet voice. But the question is, which of us is the clone? He asks with a foxy smile. Rias thought for a moment until she realized, he doesn't want one of us to feel like we are less important, she thought to herself before she decided to just enjoy the cake. After the dessert was finished, both Narutos stood up and seemed to meld into one another. So you finally managed to get that trick down? Wolf asked him. It wasn't easy, I'll tell you that, laughed Naruto. Soon after, the waiter returned with the bill. I do hope you had an enjoyable time and we wish you will dine with us again, he tells them as he places the bill on the table and leaves. Before the girls could even look at the check, Naruto and Wolf had already claimed it and were walking out the door to pay. That was weird, stated Rias with her companions nodding in agreement. Soon they were leaving with Naruto leading Rias and Hinata toward the park to have a walk and to give his friend some time alone with his date. Are we not going together? Asked Rias, looking at Wolf and Kaneko. Wolf wanted to have a private talk with her, Naruto explained. getting looks of understanding from the girls. Wolf Pav. I pull out my phone and make a quick call, making sure Kaneko can't hear me. Soon a carriage pulls up and I help Kaneko get in before getting in myself. Thanks for doing this, here's what I owe you. I tell the driver, handing him the money. As I sit beside Kaneko, the driver starts to move. I know this is supposed to be a double date and all, but we're both rather private people. I tell her, I want you to know I do care about you, and if there is anything I can do for you I will. Kaneko gave me a small smile. Thank you, was all she said. Soon we reach her apartment and climb out of the carriage. I give my thanks to the driver and walk Kaneko to her door. As we stand at her door I try to find something to say, but before I can utter a word Kaneko steps forward and gives me a kiss. It wasn't long or one you could call passionate, but it said all it needed to. Good night, was all before I realized she had walked into her apartment and closed the door. Good night, I whisper back, not sure if she could even hear me. I can't help but smile as I walk home, happy I could have this moment with Kaneko. As I walk home I sense someone following me, so I turn into an ally and confront them, ready for anything. I know you're there, you can come out now, I say out loud. I hear a noise behind me and as I turn I see someone come out of the darkness. Middle, what are you doing here? I ask in surprise. Naruto Pav. As I walk with the girls I see a horse-drawn carriage drive past, heading toward the restaurant, and smile. So how did you two like the food? I ask. It was good and such a variety. How did you two come up with the idea? Rias asks me. It was Wolf's idea. We wanted to have a place where all kinds of people could enjoy themselves. It was my idea to use a transformation of our fathers to set it up, I tell them proudly. Hinata giggles. Seems your prankster nature came in handy this time, she says as she grabs hold of one of my arms. Rias, seeing this, decides to grab the other. So what should we do now? She asks. Well, I thought a nice walk through the park would be nice. I tell them, just the three of us in the night sky. The girls look up with me to see the stars. They sure are beautiful, Hinata says as we continue walking. I smile, and yet they still pale in comparison to the two goddesses by my side. I tell them, getting them to blush. Soon we exit the park and make our way to Rias's house, where Hinata said she would stay the night. When we reach the front door I start to say my goodbyes, not noticing Hinata sneaking behind me. That is until I feel something hit my back and immobilize me. Who said you were leaving? Said Rias with a sly smile. Mercy, was all I could say before they dragged me into the house. They continued to drag me further into the house until we reached what I can only guess is Rias's bedroom. Girls, what's going on? I ask, somewhat concerned. Don't worry Naruto, it's nothing bad, we just thought it would be nice to sleep in the same bed, that's all, explained Hinata. Now let's get comfortable, shall we? Said Rias as she took off my pants and shirt, leaving me in my boxers. Don't worry, we won't do anything but sleep tonight, said Hinata. Other things will have to wait until another time, she whispered with a giggle. Soon the girls and I were laying in bed with them snuggled up against me. Good night Naruto, they say in unison, giggling the whole time. I can't help but lay there and watch them sleep and smile. I really am lucky, aren't I? I can't help but think to myself. Suddenly, in the deepest parts of my mind, I hear a voice I haven't heard in a long time. Sorry kid, but that may not be true for much longer. Kurama, is that you? I ask, and what do you mean by that? I hear Kurama sigh. Yeah, it's me kid, and I have bad news, I hear him say, though I am still confused of why his voice sounds more feminine. What's the bad news? I ask worriedly. Naruto, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're dying, was the last thing I heard before a wave of pain shot through my body, forcing me unconscious. Naruto. What the hell, I'm dying, the fuck? Gemini. Chill out, do you really think I would kill the main character? Wolf. Do you really want us to answer that? Gemini. Well, fuck you guys too, but the answer is no, I wouldn't. Rias and Hinata. You better not. Gemini. Gulp. I have my reasons now. I hope you guys like this chapter, and don't worry, I do have a plan. Bye. It's been about a month since the date, and in that time Naruto has learned what Kurama meant by her earlier statement. Yeah, it came as no small surprise for Naruto to find out his longtime partner had somehow changed gender. Well, changed is a bit of a misconception, considering Kurama was a mass of chakra to begin with and didn't really have a gender. That aside, it turns out that the jutsu used to bring them to this world somehow made his seal unstable. This is because the seal was originally powered by the Shinigami of their world. Now that this is no longer the case, the seal was beginning to decay. So how long do you think alive? Naruto asks his longtime friend. It's hard to say, but if I had to guess I'd say less than 6 mouths, came a reply from the shadows of the cage. Naruto looked toward the voice. How long are you going to hide? He asks, his voice showing hints of irritation. There's no need to get snappy, she said with a sigh as she stepped into the light. What Naruto saw left him speechless. In front of him stood a girl about his age with long red hair the same shade as Rias. She was a bit taller than him with blood-red eyes with slits for pupils. She was wearing a red shirt with black jeans. Happy now? She says in slight embarrassment, all but refusing to look Naruto in the eyes. Seeing that Kurama was uncountable, he tries to help by changing the subject. I have an idea. What if we use this world's magic with our world's sealing arts? He asks her. Thankful for the distraction, Kurama looks thoughtful. That could work since the two resemble each other to an extent. But to be safe you should use shadow clones for now, she says to him. I think that's a great idea. Well, I should get going, he informed her. You know you gave nothing to be shy about you now, he says as he starts to fade. After all, no matter what, you're still my partner. As he fully fades and leaves his mindscape, he misses Kurama blush slightly. Stooped hormones, Kurama muttered to herself as she decides to take a nap, dreaming about a blonde-haired fox. Change location. Naruto wakes up to find both his arms pinned by his two girlfriends, who decided they liked using him as an oversized teddy bear so much, they tend to sneak into his bed while he sleeps. Naruto sighs and creates a sealess shadow clone from which he substitutes with. Let them know I'm making breakfast, he whispers just loud enough for the clone to hear him. The clone just nods and Naruto walks to the kitchen, but before he starts he steps outside and creates a few hundred shadow clones. You know what to do, was all he said to them as he walked back inside to start breakfast. Hinata and Rias wake to the smell of bacon and eggs. As they stretch and yawn, the Naruto clone can't help but stare. As Rias finds sleeping in clothes restricting, allowing him to get an eyeful of her bouncy yet perky, it didn't help that Hinata had taken up the habit. The clone couldn't help but admire the two in front of him, wondering how the boss held himself back from trying to claim them. Rias, seeing the clone staring, smiled seductively. Like what you see? She asks him. Clone Naruto gulps as he sees the smile not just on Rias's face but Hinata's as well. The boss is downstairs with breakfast. He tells them before dispersing, trying to avoid whatever teasing the two had in store. Hinata giggled. Shall we go? She asked her red-haired partner in crime. Rias giggles back. Y'all, let's see how you like the show, she replied as they get dressed and head to breakfast. Naruto paused as he placed down the plate of food he was holding. Did you have to do that to my clone? He asks the two girls as they enter the room. Rias and Hinata just smile as they sit down to eat. Are you saying you didn't like the show? Rias asked him, her smile growing. I think he wishes he saw it in person, commented Hinata as she started to dig into her breakfast. Before Naruto could dispute her claim, Wolf walks in the room. Sorry to interrupt your fun, but we have a problem, he tells the group before telling them he will see them in the clubroom. Change location. So what is this problem you found? Rias asks Wolf. This gets the rest of the peerage to turn to the white-haired boy in question. I told this to Rias, and now I will tell the rest of you the payment for the request by Grigori. We are given free authority to handle all fallen angels that enter the territory, he tells them as he takes a bit of some chocolate. A few days ago I was given information that a small group didn't like this fact and may try something, and as not to cause unneeded stress I decided to look into it before saying anything, he continues with his report. How many are there? Asked Rias, deciding that he wouldn't bring this unless he found the intel to be truthful. No less than 3, but there may be more, was Wolf's only reply. Do we know where they are? Kiba asks. Wolf nods his head. They set up base in the old mansion where we defeated the stray. Guess they thought we wouldn't look there, he said with a shrug. Do we know when they may attack? Asked Akeno. I'm afraid not, they aren't like Riza and the others, they're smart and hid their tracks well, that's why I couldn't get their full numbers, Wolf explained. Rias sat behind her desk and thought about the next move they should take. Can we get any information from Grigori? She asks. I'm sorry to say that they can't help us any more than they already have. They fear any more help will allow any the separatists to convince more to join them, Wolf tells her. Rias sighed. That's understandable. She looks over to Wolf. How strong do you think they are? She asks. I'd say mid to high chunin, Wolf said after some thought. getting looks from the non-shinobi of the group. Seeing this, Wolf gives a sheepish smile. Sorry, I mean to say they are likely a bit stronger than Rainier, but not by much, he explained. Then we prepare, and when we're ready we'll take the fight to them, Rias tells her peerage. Her words were reserved by nods as the others left to prepare for the upcoming battle. Hey Wolf, got a moment? Asked Naruto. Yo, what's up? Wolf asks as they head to a training ground they tend to use for sparring. Naruto looked around and said, I need your help with something, it involves your knowledge on seals. Time skip. Rias walks out of the teleportation cycle and looks up to the mansion that once housed the stray devil visor. It almost has a different feel to it, doesn't it? Akeno asks her as she stands beside her longtime friend and king. Rias just nods as she continues to look at the building. I can't help but feel something bad is coming, she whispers to herself. Naruto walks up and puts his hand on her shoulder. We best not keep them waiting, he says with a grin. Was it wise to leave Asia behind? Asked Kiba. She doesn't have enough combat experience, explained Rias. She may get hurt or worse if she were here. Kiba nodded, accepting the explanation. As they approach the door, Hinata activates her Byakugan. They know we're here, she informs the others. Wolf and Kaneko step up to the door. Then there's no need for subtlety, he says as they kick the doors off their frames. That's one way to knock, Akeno giggled. Wolf looks at her with a grin. What can I say, I like to party, he says as Kaneko rolls her eyes, though if you looked closely you could see a small smile on her face. As they entered the room with what looked to be Visor's remains, they looked up to see 3 fallen angels hovering in the air, spears of light at the ready. Before the 3 shinobi could get ready to attack, Akeno steps forward. How about you let us have some fun this time, she asks, giving Wolf a wink. Kiba also walks in front of them, her sword already at the ready. Can't let you play the hero forever now, can we? She asks them, giving them a grin. Seeing their resolve, Naruto and his friends stepped back, as it was never their intention to hog the spotlight, as it were, merely used to the fast pace of shinobi battles, where a single second could be the difference between life and death. Seeing that they were willing to let the others fight, Rias steps forward. Let's get started then, she says as Kaneko flings the nearest large object at the fallen angels, which just to be the dead body of Visor. As the fallen angels dogged, Kiba used the opportunity to charge the nearest enemy, bringing her sword down, only to be blocked by the spear of light, though that soon changed as her sword seemed to start to cover it in a dark mist, shattering it. The fallen angel was surprised and tried to bring another light spear up for defense, but was no match to the knight's sheer speed as was cut down. The second fallen angel saw their comrade fall, rushed to try and take Kiba out, only to be forced to dodge a bolt of lightning. Well, aren't you the quick one? Akeno says as she prepares another bolt of lightning. As the fallen angel dogged the electric attacks, they failed to realize the trap Akeno was setting until it was too late, as a magic circle appeared beneath them, trapping them in place. Let's hear your cries of pain, shall we? Akeno asks with a blush. Suddenly a large bolt of lightning broke through the roof and stuck the fallen angel, causing them to scream in pain before dying, leaving only ash behind. Ah, I wanted to play a bit more, Akeno says with a sad pout. The third fallen angel, seeing how quickly the others were defeated, tried to fly away, only to be grabbed by the ankle. Looking at who was stopping their escape, they say the small white-haired rook. Before they could try to get out of her grip, Kaneko started to slam the fallen angel back and forth on the ground before with one last throw buried them in the ground. Puny angel, was all she says as she walks away. Shout out to anyone who knows the reference. Seeing the battle was over, Naruto and the others started to walk over to congratulate them on a good fight. That is until Naruto was hit by an intense wave of pain, bringing him to his knees. Hinata, seeing this, rushed over to him, Rias not far behind. Naruto, what's the matter? Rias asks him as an orange cloak of chakra enveloped him. Damn it, I thought I had more time, Naruto muttered as he tried to control the raging chakra. What do you mean more time? Hinata demanded as she tried to get close to her longtime love. Naruto looked up at them with a sheepish smile. Well, you see, the seal is beginning to weaken, he tells them as if it was no big deal. Naruto couldn't help but flinch at the look Hinata was giving him, and suddenly, as fast as the chakra appeared, it was gone. Probably back into the seal, Naruto thought to himself. As this was going on, the rest of the peerage was gathering around to see if Naruto would be okay. That is until Wolf felt the presence of more fallen angels entering the mansion. However, before he could warn them, he saw a light spear heading straight for Kaneko. Without a second thought, he pushed her out of the way. Sadly, in the process, the deadly weapon pierced his chest. Shocked, the others looked at him in despair, as with so many enemies, the idea of getting out with Naruto and Wolf alive was looking dim. Wolf Pav. Looking down, I can't help but find it funny, as the damn spear is in the same place Naruto took a Chidori to the chest all those years ago. Reaching up, I take hold of it and slowly pull it out. As I do this, I can see the spear go from a light blue to a dark red with a black core. Think lightsaber. I know it's not like that, but as I fully remove it, I coughed up some blood. Looking up, I can see at least 15 fallen angels. As I looked at the one who I believed to have thrown the spear in the first place, I hurled it back at him faster than he could react, piercing him through his heart. As I stepped forward, I turned back to my comrades. Let me handle this. You guys keep Naruto safe, I tell them. Play Angel with a Shotgun by Night Core. I look back to the fallen angels that would dare try and harm my friends. I pull Kabikirabocho from the storage seal on my arm. Knowing I couldn't hold back, I released my wings, tails, and ears, letting my full power run free. I can see the surprise on the fallen angels' faces and use it to my advantage. Charging forward, I cut 2 in half with one swing of my sword. 3 down, I say with a bloody grin, 12 to go. My words seem to knock them out of their stupor as they summon light spears and attack. Trying to unnerve them, I let out a crazed laugh and smashed through the first light spear and cleave its welder in half with one swing. Come, let us dance the dance of death together, I say, still playing the part of a crazed berserker. As the other fallen angels start to pull back a bit, I take the opportunity to cut down 2 more. Seeing that they no longer wished to get within reach of my blade, I started going through Hand Seal's water style, hidden mist jutsu. Suddenly the room was filled with a thick mist. Using the low visibility, I start to cut down more of the fallen angels, counting them as I go. 1 little fallen, 2 little fallen, 3 little fallen, each victim accompanied by a cry of pain before silence. The other fallen angels eventually make it out of the mist. Noticing this, I release the jutsu, revealing their dead comrades. I decided to end the act as I look at the remaining 6. This could have been avoided, you know, I tell them. Fuck you, I hear one of them say. I can't help but sigh at this. So be it. And with that, I charge forth once more, phantom style. Bloody purification. I cut through 3 more before they have a chance to blink. I swing around and behead the last 3 fallen angels. I stab Kabikirabocho into the ground. May you find peace in the pure world, I whisper as I walk back to my friends. Normal Pav. Wolf walks over to Naruto before falling to his knees. Looks like this may be to end for me, he says with a weak smile. But at least I can keep you from following me, he says to his first true friend. What are you talking about? Naruto asks him. Wolf continues to smile as he creates a shadow clone. I'm about to use 2 forbidden jutsu. Jutsu only one man could use and still live. Wolf tells him Sage Art. Steal the wound. As he does this, he places his hand on Naruto's stomach. The group watches in awe as Naruto's seal starts to climb up Wolf's arm and onto his own stomach, but that's not the only seal. As one reveals itself at the base of Naruto's neck, and the moment it leaves, his hair grows a bit longer and changes to a red a few shades lighter than Rias's. To top it off, 3 chakra chains emerge from his back. Looks like that old bastard Danzo had a few more secrets than we thought, muttered Wolf, thinking about how the old Warhawk would try to get Naruto as a weapon. As the jutsu finished, Wolf looked over to Kaneko. I'm sorry I can't stay by your side, and I hope one day you can forgive me, he says to her as he gives the clone the go-ahead. Sage Art. Realize the Biju. The clone then places his hand on the seal and extracts a red orb that once free turned into a beautiful red-headed woman. I guess this is goodbye, brother, he says, looking at Naruto. The group watched as Wolf's eyes started to lose their light. Suddenly his body burst into white flame, leaving not even ash behind. Change location. Rias looks at her peerage as they all mourn the loss of a friend. Asia, Kiba, and Akeno were trying to comfort Hinata and Naruto. Looking at Kaneko, she could see she was taking it just as hard as Wolf had done. Something few had. He got Kaneko to open up to him. Now she was afraid she would be even more withdrawn than before. Naruto seemed to think the same thing as he stood up and walked up to the young girl. He then kneels in front of her. I know it's hard, and I know you probably want to be left alone, so I'll be quick. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. He then reaches into his pocket and pulls out a scroll. "One more thing, I think he would want you to have this," he says as he hands her the scroll. Inside is all his clan's history, traditions, and ninjutsu-related techniques, as well as Kabikirabocho. "If you wish to learn to use it, let me know." As he says this, he shows her how to use the scroll and starts to walk away. He is suddenly stopped by Kaneko, who grabbed his shirt. "Thank you," was all she says as she lets him go. Getting Naruto to give her a small smile. "It's the least I can do," he says as he heads back to the others, giving the girl her space. Change location. A bit of moonlight falls through the cracks of the stone roof, revealing a body of a young man on a stone table in the middle of what looks like a large cave. Two people were standing beside the table, hidden by shadow, only their eyes showing in the darkness. One was a pair of hazel gold eyes with cat-like slits for pupils, the other was a pair of black eyes that showed little interest of what was happening. "So what do we have here, Na Tilda?" the first pair of eyes asked. "Simply a new ally," came the reply. "One how may be able to defeat him." The first looked at their companion. "This should be interesting, Na Tilda." Gemini. "Well, that wraps things up for now, and once again sorry for taking so long." Naruto dodged another swing from Kaneko. "You're getting better," he tells her as he evades her attacks. "But you're still too slow," he tells her as he steps into her guard and hits her with an open palm to the chest. Kaneko stumbles backward and falls to the ground exhausted, as they had been sparring for a few hours now. She had asked him to help her train with the large weapon, and to help her learn senjutsu, though she was still hesitant about that one. Naruto walks up and extends his hand. "That's enough for now," he tells her. As she stands up, Hinata and Rias walk up to them. "That was very impressive. If I had to guess, I would say she would be high genin, low chunin," said Hinata as she brings out some food she was carrying. Naruto nods. "I agree, with time and practice she could be even better than Zabuza with that blade," he says with a smile. This gets the attention of the two devils with them. "Who's Zabuza?" Rias asks. Naruto sits down beside a tree with the others, following his example. Zabuza Momochi was the wielder of Kabikirabocho before Wolf. He tells them, looking a bit sad, as like the others he still hasn't fully gotten over the death of his best friend. Zabuza was also one of a group known as the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. "They were the greatest swordsmen in the world we came from," he tells them. Seeing that he had their attention, he continued. "It's said that together they could take down a hidden village by themselves." This surprised them, as from what they had been told, the shinobi villages were estimated to be as big as a small city in their world and extremely well defended. "What happened to him?" asked Rias. Naruto closes his eyes. "He died fighting for the honor and memory of his precious person," he tells them. Naruto then tells them of his first mission, same as canon. At the end of his story, Rias is crying with Hinata. He also sees Kaneko has a few tears she is trying to hide. "It was because of Haku that I have my Nindo," he says as he moves to comfort his girlfriends and the one he has come to see as a little sister. After a while they start to head back to the clubroom with Hinata and Rias holding onto Naruto's arms. As they enter the room, they go to their respective seats. Rias going to the large wood desk and the rest making themselves comfortable on the couch, where Kaneko starts to eat some chocolate. Soon the others enter the room. "Now that everyone is here, I think it's time to announce that I believe it is time to send Asia on her first contract," Rias informs her peerage. This gets Naruto's attention, as he has become more protective of his fellow peerage since Wolf's passing, especially of Asia, who has no combat experience. "Rias, could I make a request?" Naruto asks the redhead. This gets Rias to look at him and gestures for him to continue. "With all that has happened, would you mind if I go with her? She gets the experience and someone to help her if the request turns out to be too much for her," Naruto reasons with her. Rias thinks about his proposal. "I see your point and can't think of why not, but she will have to do this on her own eventually, you know," she tells the now red-headed Uzumake, getting him to nod in exceptions to her words. It was now Hinata's turn to speak up. "To that end, Asia, starting tomorrow you will be trained by me and Akino in both your healing ability and your new level of magic," she tells the former nun. Seeing the affection, she can't help but wonder if this is what a family feels like. "Well, let's get started, shall we?" Naruto asks as he stands up and walks over to where they will most likely use the teleportation circle. Asia nods as she stands beside him. As they leave, Hinata turns to Rias. $10. "I'm not familiar with other currency, sorry. Says we get a new sister before long," she says with a giggle. Rias rolls her eyes. I'm not into taking fool's bets, she says with a smile. Change location. As Naruto and Asia step out of the circle, they see a room filled with posters of magical girls as well as various other items related to the subject like action figures, and on one shelf there looks to be some kind of staff or wand. "Oh, thank goodness, I was worried that it wouldn't work, Neo," came a deep muscular voice behind them. "Neo, what?" thought Naruto as he turned around only to see a large man wearing a too small magical girl outfit. Asia, being the kind girl she was, didn't judge the large man. Instead, she simply asked what his request was. "Whoa, little devil, Mild Tan wants you to turn him into a magical girl, Neo," the now named Mild Tan tells them. Hearing this, Asia looks down as she is not sure if she can grant this request as she doesn't know how. Seeing the look on her face, Naruto steps up beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder and gives her a smile. "We can help you, but it won't be easy or painless," Naruto tells the larger man. "Oh, thank you, Tiny Tim. I can't wait, Neo," Mild Tan tells them, looking really excited. Asia looks at Naruto in wonder as he starts to unseal ink and what looks to be paint brushes. Naruto, is there something I can do to help?" she asks quietly as she didn't want to bother him but at the same time didn't want to be useless. Naruto looks at her and gives her a smile. "Of course, Asia. After all, you will be the key to making this work," he tells her as he gets ready to use the items he brought out. This gets a smile from Asia as Naruto walks over to Mild Tan. "Okay, so to do this I will need to place a type of tattoo on you. Any idea where you would like it?" he asks him. Mild Tan thinks about it for a moment. "Well, how big is it going to be, Neo?" he asks Naruto. "No bigger than the palm of my hand. I can even hide it in a picture of something else so it looks nicer," Naruto explains to him. "I have just the one, Neo," Mild Tan says as he goes to grab a piece of paper with a drawing on it. Looking it over, Naruto nods his head. "I can work with this," he says as he dips his brush into the ink. "So where do you want it?" he asks. Mild Tan points to his chest as he starts to remove the outfit. "That won't be necessary," Naruto says in near panic, not wanting to see the other man without anything on. Naruto sighs in relief as he starts to draw the seal on a piece of paper, being sure not to make a mistake as one wrong move could spell doom for the man in front of him. As Naruto worked, Asia and Mild Tan watched in awe as they had never seen a seal master before. Seeing his brush glide across the paper was like watching a master painter. The difference was that you could feel the power behind every stroke. Asia then looked at the picture Mild Tan showed Naruto. It was a full moon with a star in the middle. In the center of the star there seemed to be a spiral of some kind. Think Uzumaki clan spiral. Soon Naruto had finished his work and placed the paper where Mild Tan wanted it to appear. He then looked over to Asia. "As soon as I give the signal I need you to start pouring your magic into the seal, okay?" he asks her, never looking away from her eyes as if to convey how important this was. Asia nodded as she got ready. Seeing this, Naruto looked Mild Tan in the eyes. "This is your last chance to back out," he says, his voice deadly serious. "This is Mild Tan's dream, Neo," was the only reply. Accepting the response, Naruto starts to go through hand seals Uzumaki sealing art. Body shift jutsu. As he says this, the ink seems to slide off the paper and onto Mild Tan's skin. "Asia, now," Naruto says urgently as he focuses on the jutsu. As they continued, Asia could hear Mild Tan scream in pain but didn't dare stop in case something bad happened. Suddenly there was a bright flash of light, and as Asia regained her sight she saw something amazing. Sitting in front of her was no longer a large man with muscles that could put some bodybuilders to shame. Instead there was a petite young woman with slightly larger than average s. "Did it work, Neo?" the now female Mild Tan asked. Naruto smiles. "Why don't you look for yourself?" asks as he unseals a full-length mirror from a scroll. Seeing herself in the mirror, Mild Tan quickly grabs Naruto and gives him a bone-crushing hug, almost literally. "Hey Mild Tan, you might want to be careful with who you hug," Naruto says as he pats her on the back. Mild Tan looks at him. "Why do you say that, Neo?" she asks him as she lets him go. As he stands up from the hug of death, Naruto pops his back. "Simply put, your strength is still the same as before, if not a bit condensed to fit your new form," he explains to her. "Now something else for you to know, is you can change back and forth anytime you want, and no, it won't hurt doing so," he tells her. Asia looks in awe as she didn't know it was possible to do any of this, though what surprised her more was the magic she could feel in Mild Tan since she couldn't feel it before. "Hey Asia, it's time to go," Naruto says after gathering all his supplies. Coming, she says as she heads over to her fellow devil, though before she leaves she turns to Miltan. I hope we can meet again, she says as they leave for the clubroom. Change location. Rias looks up from her desk as the teleportation circle appears with Naruto and Asia stepping out. Well, that was quick. How did it go? Rias asks them. It went well, Asia said cheerfully, but I'm still surprised how Naruto was able to fulfill the request, she says, tilting her head cutely. This gets Rias to raise an eyebrow. And what was the request and how did he help? She asks the bishop. Asia then proceeded to explain what happened during the summoning. At the end of her tale, everyone looks at Naruto. I know you are a master of Fuinjutsu, but why did you need Asia's magic? Hinata asks him. Hearing the question, Naruto smiles. Glad you asked. You see, ever since we became devils I've noticed that the magic we use is similar to seals. He explains. They both require a formula to work. That's what I've been working on, by the way, combining the two, he continues. This seems to intrigue the others as they listen to him. So why did you need Asia's magic and not your own? Akino asks him. Simple. Asia has way better control of her magic than I do. If I had done it, the client may have died. So it's no joke when I say without Asia I couldn't have fulfilled the request. She is the true star of the show here, Naruto says without hesitation or shame. Hearing this, Asia starts to blush. I really didn't do much, she says in embarrassment, thinking he was just being nice. You know, Asia, Naruto takes sealing very seriously and isn't one to stroke someone's ego, Hinata says to the blonde girl, causing her to blush deeper than before. Asia smiles. Thank you, Naruto, was all she said. It's no problem, Asia, just telling the truth. As this was going on, Rias couldn't help but smile. It really did feel like a family. Time skip. Well, about time we get started on those flyers, Naruto says as he stands up ready to leave. Actually, I'm thinking it's about time you three graduated from flyer duty, Rias says from her desk. What do you mean? Asks Hinata. I mean it's time you get a familiar, Rias explains. This gets Naruto's attention. What's a familiar? He asks his fellow redhead. Simply put, a familiar is considered a basic requirement for a devil. They can assist their masters for various tasks like information gathering or relaying messages, or even perform odd jobs, she explains. This is my familiar, she says as a bat-like creature appears. This little one is mine, says Akino, revealing a little imp-like familiar. Shiro. Was all Kaneko says as she holds up a small white kitten. I'm sure Kiba would show hers off as well, but she is currently out on a request, Rias says as not a moment later the clubroom doors open. Hello, Sona. What do I owe the pleasure? Asked Rias to the now named Sona. I just came to congratulate you for increasing the number of your peerage, came the reply. This caught Naruto's attention. Well, that explains the magic I feel coming from you, he says with a grin. Nice to meet you, I'm Naruto Uzumake, he says holding out his hand. Ya, not gonna happen, came a voice from behind Sanya. Honestly, you should be honored to be in the presence of real dignified devils. By now Naruto dropped his smile and looked at the one talking. He had short blonde hair with gray eyes. What's with dyeing your hair red, trying to look more tough or something? He tants, missing the killing intent. Ki from now on, slowly leaking off of Naruto. This did not go unnoticed by Sona. Sanji, be quiet, she told the blonde boy. Sorry about that, he's new and still has much to learn. Seeing that Sona was trying to diffuse any hostility, Rias decided to play along, not wanting any trouble between her and her friend. Allow me to introduce the newest members, as he said. The one in front of you is Naruto, the one beside him is Hinata, and this is Asia, she says as he points to the former nun. Naruto and Hinata are my pawns and Asia is my bishop, Rias explains further. I see, I guess it's my turn. This is Sanji, he is my pawn, Sona says as Sanji steps forward. Don't think just because we're pawns means we're even. I took 4 pawns to turn, he says smugly. Naruto took 6, came an exasperated sigh from Sona. This seemed to deflate the boy as he looked at his king in confusion. How could he have done that, he asked her. Seeing an opportunity, Rias spoke up. Honestly, if he and Hinata didn't suppress their power, then it may have cost more than that, she says as if talking about the weather. Seeing what she was doing, Hinata giggled. That is until Sanji opened his mouth. Well, what do we have here? Sanji says as he takes her hand in his. Seeing what he was doing, Naruto takes his hand and shakes it. I suggest you leave my friends alone, Naruto says with a calm but forceful tone. Oh, and why should I do that? Sanji, just a chill goes down his spine. He then proceeded to look into Naruto's eyes, which had turned red and slitted pupils. Simply put, you don't put the moves on someone else's mate, came a voice from the door. Everyone turns to look at the one who spoke only to find no one there. As they look back at Naruto, they see a red-headed woman standing behind him as she wraps her arms around his neck. Quickly getting over her surprise, Sona adjusted her glasses. Perhaps you wouldn't mind telling us who you are and what do you mean his mate? She asks the mysterious redhead. The woman smiled. My name is Kurama, and I'm one of his mates, she says, shocking Naruto a bit as he didn't think the now female Biju liked him like that. Naruto looked to Hinata and Rias for help figuring out what just happened, only to see them smile at him as if they were already aware of this fact. Sanji looked at him with his mouth open. You mean to tell me that he has 2 hot girlfriends? He mutters. 3 actually, giggles Akino. Sanji, hearing this, walks up to Naruto and falls to the ground. Please teach me your ways, master. He says, bowing to the redhead, causing everyone to sweet drop and Sona to facepalm. Sanji felt a chill run down his spine, as he slowly looked to Sona, who is giving him a look that promises pain. That is enough, she says, her voice cold. Sanji quickly nods his head and gets off the floor. Sorry about that, Rias, I'll be sure he gets the proper punishment for his actions, Sona tells her fellow king. Sanji pales hearing this. That's okay, so what brings you here today, or is this just a social call? Rias asks her. Actually, word on the grapevine is that you're planning to go to the familiar forest soon, Sona tells her. That's right, don't tell me you were planning the same, Rias asks her. I was, and that brings up a dilemma as he only sees one group a month, Sona comments. That is a problem, Rias says as she begins to think of a way to resolve the situation. What about a duel? Rias suggests. You couldn't mean a rating game, surly, Sona says with a bit of a smirk. Goodness no, we'd never get permission for that. I was thinking more along the lines of a school-related game, Rias explained with a chuckle. I suppose that would work, besides a rating game would draw too much attention to yourself anyway, Sona says after some thought. Don't go there, Rias says, her voice holding a bit of an edge to it. You're right, sorry, so what about a tennis match? Sona suggested. That sounds fair, Rias agrees. Same as canon, so I'll skip to the dodgeball game. So we're playing dodgeball? Naruto asks. Yeah, they fingered since it involved you 3, it was only right you get a chance to participate, Kiba says as they head to the front gate to go home. Honestly, it sounds fun, Naruto said with a grin. Kiba couldn't help but find the Uzumaki's grin infectious as she smiled with him. Just don't forget it's tomorrow at the gym, she says as they part ways. As Naruto is walking home, he starts to think about everyone and what they were trying to do for Hinata, Asia, and him. Suddenly an idea appears in his head, making his wide grin even bigger. With his mind made up, Naruto speeds home to prepare for tomorrow. Time skip. Naruto walks into the gym with Rias as they get ready for the game that will show their growth as devils. As Naruto and Rias approach the others, he reaches into his back pocket, pulling out a storage scroll while the others see this and wonder what he has in it. Hey guys, I have something for you, he says, but before I do, I want to say getting to know everyone I've come to understand we all come from difficult pasts, and while I may not know your stories yet, I do hope to one day. Until then, I hope you take these as a reminder that we are not just comrades and friends. As he says this, he opens to scroll and unseals 7 headbands with the symbols for family engraved on the metal. We are family and will always be there for each other, he says as he hands out his gift. Rias and the others are left speechless by his words and the gift that now rested in their hands. Filled with new determination, they placed the headbands on and got ready to fight, not just for glory, but for each other. As the game started, it was clear to Sona and her peerage that this was no longer about who would get the right to go to the familiar forest. Now it had somehow turned into a battle of bonds, a way to show that no matter what, they would not let their comrades down. It started like any other dodgeball game until someone used magic, though no one could remember who it was. As the balls were flying through the air, Naruto was doing his best to keep Asia safe as she had no experience playing the game and didn't want to see her hurt. Seeing this, the other team used the opportunity to try and get him out by targeting the former nun. It didn't take long for Rias and the others to notice and in turn made them pay for targeting the poor girl in such a way. None more so than Kiba, as she used her speed to give her fellow peerage members a chance to rest. Soon Sona's team was down to just her 2 knights, her queen and her pawn Sanji. Sona noticed that Kiba was looking for another ball to throw. Seeing this as a chance to take out a powerful player, she added magic to the ball she had and launched it at the blonde knight while she was distracted. Naruto saw this and stepped in the way hoping to catch the ball. However, right before he could, the ball changed directions and nailed him right in the balls. Everyone seemed to freeze as Naruto dropped to his knees, anime tears pouring down his face. Asia, seeing him in pain, rushed to his side to try and heal him. As this was happening, Hinata, Rias, and surprisingly Kiba glared at Sona. Feeling the intense glares pointed at her, Sona almost let out a frightened whimper. The only thing stopping her was her pride. "You messed up," Kaneko said, breaking the silence, and as if a signal had been given, the game started again. As Rias and the others worked to avenge him, Naruto felt a presence outside the gym. Looking at the others, he could see that no one else had noticed. Naruto discreetly made a shadow clone and went to see if the presence was friendly or not. Going to the place he felt them, he was surprised to see what looked like a simple black cat. "You know, I came out to get some fresh air and I somehow stumbled across a pretty kitty cat. Are you lost, little one?" he asks as he slowly walks up to the cat, trying not to show his suspension. The feline in question was on guard as she didn't even notice the redhead walk up behind her. Seeing that the cat wasn't going to let him get closer, Naruto sighed. "Careful, you'll set off the seal," he says, confusing the cat. That is until she saw a faint glow from behind her. Following her instincts, she jumps forward away from the possible treat, and right into Naruto's waiting arms. "Now that was a surprise," he says as he holds the cat with a firm but gentle grip. "If you wanted some attention, you should have just said so," he finishes with a grin as he slowly scratches her behind the ears, causing her to purr involuntarily. As Naruto was amusing himself with turning the cat in his arms into a purring pile goo, he suddenly feels another presence. Looking up, Naruto saw someone wearing a black ankle-length coat with a hood that hid his face, Organization 13 coat. "As funny as it is to see her like this, I must insist that you let my companion go," the mysterious figure said as he stepped closer to Naruto. Thinking quickly, Naruto throws 4 seal tags on the ground, creating a barrier. "Interesting," was all the stranger said as he lifted his right hand, showing what looked like a red-clawed gauntlet with a green jewel on the back of the hand. Upon touching the barrier, sparks started to fly as it tried to keep the stranger out. "Good luck trying to get through that barrier, it's at least B ranked in strength," Naruto says to the stranger. Naruto looks in shock as his barrier slowly gives way as the clawed gauntlet slowly starts to get through. "I'm not here to fight you," he says as he shatters the barrier as if it were glass. "I'm only here for her," the man says, pointing at the cat in his arms. Knowing he couldn't fight while holding the cat anyway, Naruto slowly puts her down. Once she was on the ground, the cat quickly jumped onto the stranger's shoulder. "You know, Kurama, it's a good thing the mistress asked me to come and get you," the man said to the cat, confusing the red-headed ninja. "I appreciate the help, Nishoba," the felon said, surprising Naruto. "Did that cat just talk?" he asked with wide eyes. "This cat has a name, you know," the cat said in a huff. "Calm down, Kurama, it's clear he has no experience with Nekosho," the now identified Nishoba says as he starts to walk away. At this point, Naruto remembered something he came across while researching a way to combine this world's magic with his seals. "You're the stray devil that went mad and killed her king, aren't you?" Naruto said softly as he got ready to attack. His words stopped them in their tracks. "Is that what you've been told?" Nishoba asked, not turning around. This caused Naruto to pause. "What do you mean by that?" he asked. "There's 2 sides to every story, you know," Kurama said as they started to leave once more. "If you're willing, I will even try and get proof," Nishoba said as they disappeared into the shadows. Not long after, Rias left the gym to see Naruto still standing in the same spot, deep in thought. "Is there something wrong, Naruto?" she asks him, jolting him from his pondering. "Hey Rias, what happens if a stray devil is found innocent of their crimes?" Naruto asks. "Gemini. Well, that took forever, sorry about that, between the injuries Kaneko gave me and my internet going down, oh well." Wolf. "So that incident goes to our grave, right?" Hinata. "What incident?" Gemini laughs evilly. "Oh, nothing much, just that Jiraiya made them fanboys of Miley Cyrus." Wolf and Naruto heads hang in shame. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.